And welcome back everybody to 2022 NA Apprentice Season 2 Group Stage Number 2 Group A. Welcome back everyone, I'm of course your host LatVip, and with me I'm not joined by the casting jersey herself. Feels bad, man. Usually, at least this past year, I've been casting NA Apprentice with Kuro, but today, unfortunately, she is unavailable. If you're wondering, she is getting her booster shot. So she is currently out there, you know, getting her booster shot, and even when she comes back, she may be feeling a little bit groggy. I don't know. I may be joined by her later on, or any of the other ducklings that wakes up. Oh god, it was kind of last minute that we found out that that I may not have a co-caster, so I sent out an SOS. Hopefully, whether it's Aries or Chase or someone can help join me. Feels bad, man, feels bad, but for the time being I will be here solo casting as best as I can, bringing you as much North American StarCraft as I can. Speaking of, I guess we should catch everyone up. It's been a week since our last NA Apprentice broadcast. We did cast group stage 1 last week. We casted group D, and of course that incorporated some of the players that we have here today. As we quickly hop on over to the bracket, it's beautiful, it's amazing. Here we go. We have group A, and we got a lot of matches today. We got a lot of matches. We're going to be featuring Trigger, our Canadian Protoss player, PiLiPiLi, our American Protoss, Kozan, and Hunta as well. So we have a nice kind of split, a nice spread of different races here on display. Obviously, this is the CranKy Ducklings. We got to have our PvP. It's kind of what we're known for, but at least we're able to have a little bit more variety as well, you know, with our Terran and our Zerg player. And honestly, that's kind of why I went for this group. We did have the luxury to pick and choose which group we wanted to cast. If you're wondering about the other groups, !B in the chat if you want to have a look at the rest of group stage 2. All the other groups are going to be casted, but not by us. I believe Biomorph is casting group B and group C, and Chicken Man is casting group D. So ourselves, Biomorph, and Chicken Man, we're all covering each of the as much as we can. We're all being a part of the group stage at least. When it comes to the main event, I think it's being done on the main NA Apprentice channel. I'm not 100% certain on that, but you know, they have their own plans. They have their own plans for that. Oh god. And before we get into things, !Matcherino in the chat. I believe there is a Matcherino page and coupon codes for NA Apprentice. Kuro, where feels bad? I know. Sugar. Feels bad, man. Where's my Kuro? Where is she? That's also why we went live a little bit late. I woke up literally like 15 minutes ago. No, I should say now 30 minutes ago. I woke up, I was like, oh god, I gotta get my water, I gotta wake up, I gotta splash my face, and get right into the cast, and I had to quickly set up the group as well. Oh boy, so a lot going on here, a lot going on. But it's okay because I still will be joined by the lovely game of StarCraft. We love it here on the CranKy Ducklings. It's beautiful, it's amazing, and our first series is going to be Trigger versus Kozan, a bit of a TVP. I do think, again, looking at this, oh god, Trigger is definitely the one to beat. He has been on the up and up for the past year, over a year now. Trigger, he has risen to the heights that we never thought possible. We're like, yo, when we look at the top players of North America, it's Scarlet, it's Neeb, it's Estrella. And Trigger, he's trying to break into that top 3, and he's arguably top 4 right now. Outside of him, of course, is our boy PiLiPiLi, but PiLiPiLi is not the player that we have to feature here. It is Trigger. So, oh boy, I have to wonder if he'll even drop a series, if he'll even drop a game. We will find out, as of course it is a round robin group stage here, so everyone is going to play. And here we go. We are diving into our first series, our first game of the night. And yeah, it's a bit of a PvT. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have our Canadian Protoss player representing his brand new team, Team Super. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have his opponents, the American Terran, representing License to Kill LTK. It is Kozan. Oh boy, here we go. And Kozan is also kind of an up-and-coming player that we have been featuring on this channel for quite some time. I want to say he's also an active streamer. Quite often we do see him go live on Twitch, so yeah, I'm excited to see what Kozan has prepared for this. And I say prepared because that's like one of the best things about NA Apprentice. NA Apprentice is very reminiscent of GSL, right? Like, you get the groups announced beforehand, you have a week or around a week to prepare for your group, for your matches. And that's where like some players have certain advantages and some don't, right? I would say that in this group specifically, like, everyone has to work on every matchup, so a bit of a feels bad man on that. Kind of, right? Kozan only has to work on Protoss and Zerg. Hunta only has to work on Protoss and Terran. There are no mirror matchup for these players. Meanwhile, oh my god, Trigger comes in and already takes out an SCV. Not the biggest of deals, but definitely annoying. Something like that shouldn't really be happening, but it's okay. It's just an SCV, you know, it's the first game of the day. It's all good, but the probe is back. Trigger doing his best to trigger his opponent, but the Marine comes out, cleans up that probe. All is well and good in the bases of Kozan. It's all right. I think the only important thing to note here is that he did decide to skip his Reaper, opting to go for an SCV scout instead, just confirming that there is a natural base. The gateway is at home. There's no crazy proxy going on. Obviously, this does still make the follow-up scout a little bit more difficult because there is no Reaper, but Kozan gives that up to be a little bit more greedy and conserve his gas instead. Keeping that Marine at home, making sure he's safe and sound, going for that factory. Again, nothing too crazy at the moment. Meanwhile, on the side of Trigger, we do see that he is opening up with a Twilight Council and not a Stargate. I feel like Stargate play is something that we see a little bit more, that's a little bit more popular on Glittering Ashes just because of how large it is. If you can get away with it, then you can go for that Phoenix opener, even an Oracle opener, and kind of gain control of the map, and you can get a lot of value with Phoenixes. But this game, at least, Trigger's opting to be a little bit safer, a little bit more standard, but the first adept comes across the map and delays that CC. Just look at that CC, it's almost done. Oh my god, literally 1 second away. I want to keep saying that it's not the biggest of deals. It's just like this small little advantage that Trigger is getting, but he's getting a lot of them, right? That's the second SCV he's killed already. He could maybe even kill a third if he sacks his adept. More importantly, he's able to keep Kozan at home, and he has to keep skill checking, essentially, keep making sure that Kozan lifts up these supply depots, because at any moment, if Trigger gets in, Trigger will scout that there is no starport. This is not a 1-1-1. This is not a third CC before starport. This is bit of a 2-1. You know, we're going to see a lot more aggression from Kozan, but the adept slips in. Kozan moved out just for a moment with his Marines, maybe even to try to clear out that adept, but the adept slips in, gets even more damage, doesn't kill an SCV, but confirms, hey, there are no Hellions, there's still plenty of Marines. He knows that the likelihood of this being a 1-1-1 isn't really too high. Didn't see the Cyclone, so he doesn't see everything, but Trigger, he did get quite a lot of scouting information, and it looks like he doesn't even care. He's still working on Blink. He's getting his 4 gateways up and running, and the War Prism is on the way, and this is scary. This is terrifying. Why? Defending against Blink Stalkers, typically, you would want tanks in your bases. Tanks covering your natural, tanks covering your main base. Trigger is going to have a way into that main, and there's nothing really here. There is a Cyclone to maybe have a lock-on on the War Prism and shut it down, but right now he's hoping that, I don't know, an Oracle comes in, right, to be able to shut that down instead. He's not really ready for Blink Stalkers, and without tanks, without Stim, without your upgrades, it can be so difficult to defend. Speaking of, Stim is on the way, but it only just now started. Blink Stalkers are about to rock up. Bunker is nowhere near completed, and with good enough micro, Trigger, he can have his way with this army. And essentially he had Blink. He blinks on forward on top of everything. The Cyclone does get a lock on, a bit of an ambitious blink, to be honest, by Trigger, but it doesn't even matter. He takes down the bunker. He almost takes down that Cyclone. He's going to be able to blink backwards, disables that lock on, and Again, without tanks, without stim. Kozan, he can't even hold a candle to this. GG gets called and Trigger takes the first game. Oh my god. Ay, ay, ay. That was a little bit brutal. just a little bit. It was a little bit of a shame. It was kind of a build order win in a way where Trigger, he just came across the map with his Blink Stalkers, and what could Kozan really do in that scenario? It's a bit of a shame. Kozan was kind of playing a little bit blind there. On top of that, he also didn't have his bunker up. It was greedy of him not to get his bunker early on. Typically, you do so just in case a single Adept and a single Stalker get across the map, and then they bully your natural, they bully your SCVs, and then you actually can't get your natural up and running. So Kozan was being a little bit greedy there. He also didn't have vision that the army was coming across the map, so he felt that he didn't need that bunker, and he was punished for it. You know, it never finished, it was cancelled, it was killed, and without a bunker, without tanks, without stim, like, GG. Oh boy, and here we go. We are diving straight into game number 2, and spawning in the top right hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Canadian Protoss player representing Team Super and currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. It is Trigger. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the American Terran player representing Team License to Kill. It is Kozan. Having a bit of a rough game 1, but again, it wasn't. I hope he isn't too discouraged from that game. Obviously, Trigger didn't do anything fancy. He just, you know, executed his build, went for 4-gate Blink Stalkers, went across the map, and the game did kind of end. But at the same time, I hope that Kozan is able to recognize, maybe I should be playing a little bit safer, maybe I shouldn't be delaying my bunker as long as I did, especially if I skip my Reaper, and, you know, be a little bit more defensive and respect my opponent that little bit more. Speaking of respecting my opponents, the probe is back. He is back with a vengeance. We saw in game number 1 he was able to kill an SCV, but this time Kozan is ready for it. This time Kozan pulls an additional SCV and forces Trigger back. Oh, and this time he also does not skip his Reaper, goes for a Reaper first instead. And I kind of like this. This does mean that Kozan, he's not going to take things for granted. He's not going to make assumptions about the opener of Trigger, assuming that it was a Stargate opener or anything else. He will be able to get across the map, and ideally, with good enough micro, he'll be able to scout the Twilight Council or the Stargate or anything else that Trigger does. I don't think Trigger is the kind of player to go Robo first. I know there are some that try and like skip a bunch of tech and go into Colossus as soon as possible in this matchup, and it can be risky, but like if you survive the early game, then you get into the mid game with like 3 Colossus and you can push out across the map, and you can be terrifying. I mean, Protoss in general can be terrifying, but yeah, I don't think Trigger is necessarily that kind of player. But we'll see as Kozan does kind of secure his bases. He's going across the map with his Reaper. Did still go for an SCV scout earlier to make sure there was no crazy proxy, and now with said Reaper, he's going to get into the main and he should scout the tech. Boom, and there we go. This time he confirms that it is going to be that Twilight Council, that it is going to be Blink, or should be Blink. Again, it'd be crazy if Trigger did go for something like DTs. It's not really the kind of player that Trigger is. But at least Kozan now should be getting ready, and we shouldn't have a repeat of the previous game. Meanwhile, the Adept still does shade past the bunker. No! Cancels the shade, takes out another SCV, but will not delay that CC even further. Oh god, Trigger still being annoying, but at least the CC finishes. And this Adept does finally get cleaned up. And what I will say is that, again, Kozan, he's playing pretty solid right now. He didn't skip that bunker this time. He was able to scout the tech of choice as well. We do see he's going for a much more standard 1-1-1 opening, so everything looking pretty good. other than, of course, losing an SCV, but again, not the biggest of deals, you know. Overall, definitely a game that is going better for him compared to the first. As we do see a bit of a cancel here, and Kozan is starting off with a bit of a Widowmine drop instead. Interesting. So, despite scouting the opener, despite recognizing that Blink Stalkers are going to be on the way soon, he has been opting to delay his tank production for aggression instead. And this is fine because obviously he can still get into those tanks. And this is all fine as long as he's able to deal that damage. This isn't the most committed Widowmine drop. Unfortunately, there is no armory behind this, so detection isn't required. It's all about that reaction time. As the Reaper does get pushed away. Hopefully the Reaper didn't pull the Stalker to this position. There we go. The Stalker is going over to the right hand side instead, so the Widowmine drop is so far being unscattered. Trigger has no idea. Just like the previous game, he's just executing his Blink Stalker build, and he doesn't have a lot at home to defend. So this could potentially deal a lot of damage, but it's not necessarily about that. It's about making sure that Kozan has enough at home to defend. As in comes that Widowmine drop. Trigger doesn't react. He doesn't react. He doesn't react. Oh my god, it's almost the entire mineral line goes down. 9 probes do fall, but at the same time, Trigger's across the map. The tank is not ready, and this is what I was worried about. It's great that you went for this drop. It's great that you're dealing all this damage, but Kozan is not ready in the main. He does have the bunker of the low ground. He does have his marines, and he does not have stim. The tank does pop out in time, but Trigger sees, and this tank is incredibly exposed. Tank goes down immediately. Blink Stalkers come in. The Marines are being forced off the line. Boys are gonna have to be pulled here, but again, without stim, like I just don't think Kozan can deal with this. Here we go. The SCVs are coming in, but he loses the Raven in the end. Blink is done, by the way, so he can micro back. The Marines are trying to do their best, but I don't know if they can really do so. There is a second tank on the way, and that will help. But is this too much damage? At the same time, we do have that triple drop going back into that mineral line. Oh my god, even more probes going down left and right, but 20 SCVs have fallen, and there is no answer to these Blink Stalkers. The second tank came out, but it went down. GG gets called, and Trigger takes the series 2-0. Wow. Oh my god. Feels bad, man. I mean, shout out to Kozan for, you know, dealing as much economic damage as he did, right? Coming in, killing probe after probe after probe with his Widowmine drop. But he just didn't have enough at home to defend. Again, even though he knew that Blink Stalkers were coming, ideally, if you're going for a Widowmine drop first, you get a second bunker in your main base. So you have 1 bunker at the natural, 1 in the main, and the goal, of course, is to survive until your first tank comes out. Unfortunately, he had his bunker and his reinforcing Marines all in the natural. Everything was in the natural base. His main base was incredibly exposed, and Trigger saw all of that because of the observer. He saw everything. He knew how vulnerable Kozan was, executed his build, and just like that, Trigger takes a clean sweep, takes a 2-0, and has a pretty strong start to his group. Damn. Close. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Trigger is a Terran, so feels Terran, man. But at the same time, we knew that Trigger was the player to beat. Like, he is kind of the superstar on Team Super in a way. Oh god. And if Trigger doesn't get out of his group, I think we're all going to be shocked. I think we're all going to be surprised. And it's still possible, right? There are still plenty more games to come. But yeah, very, very dominant showing here by Trigger, at least when it comes to his PvT. But now the rest of his matchups are going to be put to the test. Before we get to the rest of Trigger, though, we have 2 other players in this group. As we can see here on the screen, Trigger with a strong start, but now we are going to feature some of the other players instead. Our Protosses and our one lone Zerg. Oh. Now, I'm going to be a little bit biased here. Hunter did impress us in the previous group stage. We were lucky enough to cast Group D, and Hunter was a part of that group, and he looks so good in his ZVT. But now, he is up against a Protoss. And what a Protoss it is, as spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have our American Protoss player representing Genesis Gaming. It is PiLiPiLi. I pressed the wrong button. Hold on. It's okay. Don't panic. That's spawning in the top right hand corner of Hardwire LE. We have the American Zerg player representing Root Gaming. It is Hunta. Ah, the only Zerg player in this group. Papi, please, you can do this. You can. But yeah, of course we are featuring PiLiPiLi being a very strong player in his own right, being one of the best Protosses in all of America. You know, he's up there. Of course, at the very top you have Estrella and Nee, but just below them, I feel like PiLiPiLi and Nina are very strong players in their own right. I do think that an important thing to note is that PiLiPiLi has become, over the past year, more of a streamer, kind of more of a content creator. At least that's what he says. I don't believe him. He's like, oh, guys, you know, I'm going to retire. I'm going to focus on streaming. And he still competes in as many tournaments as possible. You know, he still has that competitive drive. So even though PiLiPiLi may not say he's focusing too much on improving, like, he's still a damn good player. He's still always here in NA Apprentice. Like, PiLiPiLi, he wants to compete. Let's be honest. Oh, God. So we'll see what he has to offer, especially in current meta. It's been a while since I've casted PiLiPiLi. You know, no longer are the days of Battle of the Americas or the original NA Apprentice Cups. You know, we don't get to see PiLiPiLi on a weekly basis like we used to. So unless you're tuning into a stream, so I wonder how he approaches this matchup. Is he, you know, is he a bit of a Skytoss abuser? Is he? Are we gonna see the double Stargate Void Rays? Like, PiLiPiLi doesn't really strike me as that kind of player. I feel like he wants to have fun more than he wants to necessarily play the most efficient build as possible and go Skytoss. When I think of PiLiPiLi, I think of like more of like a 2-base ground toss kind of player, and this is kind of playing towards that. We do see a robo opening from PiLiPiLi. My oh my, no Stargate in sight. I'm not saying we're not going to see a Stargate this series, but again, you know, it's not really his style of play. Now this robo could mean a couple of things. We could see a fast robotics bay for a disruptor drop. If this was Nina, I would say it's going to be a Colossus drop. She likes to have fun in that way. Or we could see a really awkward like third gateway thrown down and see like some three gate pressure, like unexpected pressure without blink, without glaze, without charge. Like three gates can still deal a lot of damage, and that's exactly what it's going to be. War Prism is on the way. We don't have any other tech, just vanilla gateway units. Oh, never mind. So we're gonna see some 3-gate pressure, or some gateway pressure into a disruptor. Maybe I'm making assumptions, you know, maybe PiLiPiLi has kind of gone off the edge of insanity and now he is gonna go for Colossus drops. It's possible. Place your bets in the chat. Is it gonna be disruptor or is it gonna be Colossus? But for the time being, PiLiPiLi is gonna be able to clean up this Overlord, and this is a bit of a tell. So PiLiPiLi shows his hand. Hunta never went for an Overlord scout into the main base. Hunta doesn't know about the opener until now. He sees the War Prism, and this could mean a couple of things. This could be a DT opener with, you know, DTs and eventually Colossus, Archon drop. I'm distracted by the Colossus. Into Archon drop. It could be 3-gate pressure. It could be a couple of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be disruptor drop. As we see, that is going to be the case. So Hunter's going to be preparing at home. It makes sense he gets a spore in every single base because it could be DTs. I don't blame him whatsoever. So he has detection where he needs it. Roaches are on the way as well, just in case. And with these queens and with these lings, he should have plenty to defend against the initial pressure. Again, as this is just pressure, this is just built to distract his opponent. Once Hunter recognizes that there aren't really additional warp-ins and there isn't a mass amount of stalkers kind of here across the map, he should recognize something is wrong, something is up, and there's something that you're not quite showing me. So Hunta, hopefully he's preparing in the back of his mind that there are going to be those disruptors. Meanwhile, he's still just droning up. He's working on his Evo chamber. Lair is finally on the way as well. And oh my, what a madman. He's going double disruptor into eventually that Colossus. So PiLiPiLi is going to be able to keep his opponent at home with these disruptors. Ideally, that is the plan. And going into Colossus for a more consistent, sustained form of DPS. I don't know if I like this. Obviously the disruptors counter roaches and the Colossus counter lings. That's the goal anyway, but I feel like most Protoss players would go disruptor into immortal to kind of hard counter roach ravager, which should be on the way. Meanwhile, ooh, the first purification nova goes off. It does connect with only a single roach. The second nova goes off as well, but shouldn't connect with much. Only with a queen, not enough DPS to take it down. And PiLiPiLi, with his initial surprise factor, with his initial 2 disruptors, doesn't get a lot of damage. This will keep Hunter at home though, but I love this. It's forcing Hunter to make a wave of lings. It's so difficult to split your roaches against purification novas, but lings not so much. Meanwhile, both novas go up, and he will take out 1 queen, almost 2, almost 3, but a last minute split there by Hunter. He is able to hold on. But again, this is what I'm worried about. PiLiPiLi sees everything with this observer. He sees the mass amount of lings coming out. And that means that, hey, that Colossus is actually a big brain play. Like, the Colossus is going to do so well against this. Meanwhile, here we go. The rest of the gateways did finish up. I was talking about it earlier. When I think PiLiPiLi, I think 2 base ground toss, and that's exactly what we're seeing. As PiLiPiLi is pushing on towards that 3rd base. Lings are going to try and get us around, but the purification novas are going off on those Ravagers. The Biles do connect with the main army, but are the Biles really going to be enough? We don't even have extended thermal lance. We don't even need it. You don't need range against Lings because Lings are coming your way anyway. More Blink Stalkers are being morphed in. I say Blink Stalkers. There's no Twilight Council, but who needs Blink? You just need Stalkers as they're breaking through the defenses of Hunta. All the queens go down. GG gets called. And PiLiPiLi takes game number 1. Oh my god. Who needs Blink Stalkers? Who needs extended thermal lance? Mate, you just need Protoss. That's all you need. Yeah. GG. But that was honestly really smartly done by PiLiPiLi to kind of read how his opponent will respond and respond in kind. This is where I also have to exclamation mark Funada Hunter. Hunter never went for a scout. To be fair, he did only have 1 overlord across the map because Stargate play is so prevalent and so common. He doesn't want to invest too many overlords, otherwise they're just going to get killed by a void ray. But once you recognize that it's not a Stargate opener, you need to rescout that main base. You need to get in there with an overlord, with an overseer once lair is done, and figure out what's going on. Or have some spotter lings at the 3rd base location. Recognize that a 2 base build is coming, and then get ready for it. Hunta, he didn't really have any spotter lings. His initial overlord was sniped. He was in the dark for basically the entirety of that game, and we see what happens when you don't know what your opponent's doing. Oof. GG, well played. PiLiPiLi with a very strong start to this series, but can he keep it up? We are about to find out. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Berlingrad LE, we have the American Protoss player himself representing Team Genesis Gaming. It is PiLiPiLi. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Berlingrad LE, we have the one and only Zerg player in this entire group representing Root Gaming. It is Hunta. And again, we were able to feature Hunta's ZVT last week in the previous group stage, and honestly, it was great to see, his mass Lingbane style eventually into lurkers, this dynamic back and forth. We also saw him go up against mech as well. We didn't get to see his ZVP, and ZVP can be an entirely different beast. Oh boy. Aye. It can be completely different. This matchup, it's got kind of a different dynamic to it, and it's a lot more scouting, I should say, is a little more prevalent. It's a lot more important. It's a lot more crucial here, just because the Protoss player can be doing a lot of things, especially off of 2 bases, right? It could be Disruptors, could be Colossus, could be an Immortal all-in, with Sentries, with Charge Lots. You gotta be on top of that scouting. Oh boy. And I'm sure Hunter is aware of that, especially after game 1. I'm sure he's like, you know, I should have been paying a little bit closer attention to what my opponent was doing, to be able to react a little bit more accordingly. Maybe even give up the 3rd base, throw down some sack defense. Oh boy. But we'll see. We'll see what PiLiPiLi has in store for us, because even though he went for Disruptor drops in game 1, I will be shocked if he goes for it again in game 2. Like, PiLiPiLi, he's a smart player. He's got a lot of builds up his sleeves. He doesn't have to do the same thing 2 games in a row, and I doubt he's going to. So far, the openers are pretty standard. PiLiPiLi was unfortunately unable to deny the natural location for Hunter, so Hunter was able to take that natural. PiLiPiLi is still being active, just keeping an eye on the 3rd base, making sure there's no 2-base play coming. And that makes a lot of sense, because this is Berlingrad. You know, for a Zerg player to go for 2-base roaches isn't the most unheard of thing. As there we go, the probe does get sniped, and Hunter does take the 3rd base over at the vertical location. A little bit of a less aggressive expansion location for Hunter. You know, it means that he's not going to have the fastest creep thread to go across the map if he did want to go for like a Roach Queen push or something like that. As we see, PiLiPiLi for the first time today going for a Twilight Council. So not the fastest robo, and this could be a couple of things here. He has not pulled out of gas, so I'd be surprised if this is going to be charge. This is kind of screaming a little bit more, maybe Glaive Adepts, could even be Blink Stalkers. We've seen that kind of rise in prominence, and there it is. Blink is on the way. Oh my god. Okay. So Blink Stalker openers, or even follow-ups from Stargates, have become a lot more popular recently because of the because of the nerf to the Void Rays. The Void Rays have been voided in a way. Because that Void Rays are more expensive, it's a little bit riskier to open up with Void Rays, especially against Queen pushes. So Blink Stalkers have kind of risen in the meta, not necessarily in the way that PiLiPiLi is doing it, but in general. So it's great to see him also kind of incorporate that in his own way. Meanwhile, 4 gateways are about to finish up. This is very reminiscent of Trigger's build in his PVT. 4 gate Blink Stalkers, Warp Prism, just send it across the map and just warp in waves and waves of Stalkers. And again, Hunter just doesn't go for the scout. I'm terrified. He hasn't even seen the robo that's a part of the wall. Ay. To be fair, I know that the perf pillar is pretty far out there, but you know, by the 4-minute mark, I feel like you want to be figuring out what the hell your opponent's doing. 3 more gates are thrown down, by the way. This is going to be very committed, borderline all-in from PiLiPiLi, as we are going to be seeing 7-gate Blink Stalker. Ay. Meanwhile, Hunter's just droning. He doesn't know any better. Hunter just doesn't know how many gates there are. The Blink Stalkers did reveal themselves, or at least the Stalkers revealed themselves, which for the most part looks just like the previous build, so Hunter doesn't know any better. But again, an all-in is coming his way. The rest of his overlords are being taken out in the middle of the map. What's important is that PiLiPiLi hasn't shown more than 4 Blink Stalkers, but here we go. Here is that warp in. 5 more on the way. And Hunter's not ready. He does have a small army, don't get me wrong. He does have a couple of queens as well, but he's supply blocked. Oh no, killing those 2 overlords in the middle of the map. No, not like this. Here we go. 28 Lings are on the way with this wave of Lings. He should be okay. He should be fine. Lings are exactly what you want against Blink Stalkers. But before they come out, the Stalkers, they're going to pick off a couple of roaches, a couple of queens wherever they can. Even denying a bunch of this creep, but here we go with these Lings. They're going to force these Blink Stalkers all the way back, but Hunter has to be a little bit careful here. You don't want to push too far off of creep. You got to respect the Warp Prism. You got to respect all of these Stalkers, and Oh god, does Hunter have enough? That's the problem. He went up all the way to 52 drones. Ideally, you want to stop it around 40, 45 max. So again, he did drone up a little bit too much. He still has plenty of queens. He still has energy to transfuse a little bit. So things are still looking okay, but Hunter once again getting a little bit supply blocked. 4 more overlords on the way. Something you never want to be seeing in this position. And so far, PiLiPiLi hasn't lost a single stalker. What? Oh my god, the blinks are just too good. And all the lings are being shaved off. We do have another wave of lings coming across the way. We do have 2 layers on the way as well, but it's not going to be enough. GG gets called, and PiLiPiLi, just like that, takes the series 2-0. Oh my god. Hold on. He lost 1 stalker. He lost 1 stalker, and he killed 49 lings. Crazy. Crazy. Oh my god. You could argue that Hunter was being a little bit too antsy there. Maybe he should have allowed for the blink stalkers to push deeper into creep before really pouncing on that army. He was panicking a little bit, again getting supply blocked more than once, investing a lot in those overlords. He was panicking and getting multiple layers when I imagine he wanted to make another wave of queens to come and help out as well. Just, yeah, it definitely felt like he was panicking a little bit too much there. And where does the panic come from? It comes from the fact that he didn't know what the hell his opponent was doing. Am I casting Starduck right now? Is that what's happening? Feels bad, man. GG. GG, well played. PiLiPiLi takes the series 2-0 without really breaking a sweat. My god. The Protoss players in Group A, they're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty impressive. We haven't seen Trigger or PiLiPiLi really display too much, to be honest. They've been having a pretty easy time, 2-0s across the board. But that is where things have to change. Both Trigger and PiLiPiLi are tied now at the top of their group, and only one can come out on top. That is going to be our next series. PvP is up next on the list. The only mirror matchup that we are getting today, and I don't really know how this is going to go. Obviously, I was singing praises to Trigger earlier on in the group, saying how I feel like he is the strongest player in this group, and I still believe that. But at the same time, PvP. You know what I mean? PvP, anything could happen. It can sometimes be a little bit coin flippy. It can be dynamic, it can be crazy, it can be intense. If anyone is gonna stop Trigger, I feel like it's gonna be PiLiPiLi. I don't know, maybe I'm huffing too much copium, mate. I don't know. We'll find out together. We'll find out. Oh god. I see Sugar in the chat. Another close series. Sal Smug. Look, when it comes to North America, Protoss is where it's at, okay? When you think of the top of North America, that's kind of the way it's been for a while now. But again, we're gonna find out which Protoss player is on top. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have our Canadian Protoss player representing his brand new team, Team Super. It is Trigger. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have our American Protoss representing Genesis Gaming. He just 2-0'd Hunta. Now he's here against Trigger. It is PiLiPiLi. And we already see a pretty stark difference between these two players. As we can see, Trigger does go for that low ground wall. Even before that, Trigger did quickly check outside his main base to make sure there was no proxy pylon. So Trigger playing this safe, but also playing this very greedy. Trigger is one of those Protoss players, very reminiscent of Max Pax and Prince in Korea, where they go for these, again, they go for these kind of one gate expand builds whenever they can. You can argue it's greedy, it is very economic, but it's also sometimes a little bit cocky, right? Trigger, he's saying, yo, What are you gonna do about it? What, you gonna stop me? You gonna pylon block me? I guess so, as Trigger does have a Zealot on the way, just in case a pylon gets thrown down to deny his Nexus. So he will have that Zealot to swipe away at that pylon. As PiLiPiLi does have eyes on the opener, and now it's on PiLiPiLi. Like, is he going to see this and try and be hyper aggressive and punish this greed and just go one base, or is he gonna back off and take his own expansion? Something that I'm a little bit shocked by, this is a little bit of a mistake. PiLiPiLi didn't pylon block, so Trigger didn't even need to finish the Zealot. And I would say this is a bit of a mistake. Like, allowing Trigger to expand like this is crazy. Usually you're as annoying as possible throwing down 1, 2, 3 pylons, even throwing down a cyber block or something like that, just to make Trigger uncomfortable and not allow him to open up the way he wants to. To be fair, PiLiPiLi, he is going for, he is delaying his own Nexus and going for a faster Twilight Council. So he does still want to be aggressive, but again, I don't know about this. Like, not delaying the Nexus means the Nexus is about to finish up. With this shield battery, there's going to be an overcharge shortly as well for the defense. Like, I don't know if PiLiPiLi can really do much here, but he's going to try as he throws down that pylon, and he is going for Blink Stalkers. Stalkers are about to rock up here on the front line, but with a single Stalker and a shield battery, Trigger is going to be perfectly fine in the defense. I'm a little bit worried just because Trigger is going for an Oracle, which means he's not going to have a Void Ray to defend at home against this one base play. He's a little more concerned about dealing economic damage and forcing PiLiPiLi all in. Meanwhile, PiLiPiLi is all in. there is nothing, there are no ifs and ors about it. He is throwing down that proxy gateway, throwing down a second pylon as well, just in case he loses his first. And he's going to be trying to force his way in. So far, he's having a hard time with these 2 Stalkers. Again, we have an overcharge behind this as well, just in case. So far, nice micro. PiLiPiLi does keep his Stalker alive, just barely. Meanwhile, back at home, Oracle rocks up and stasis. Oracle rocks up and just chills. He just be big chilling. At the same time, Trigger does move down and ooh, he takes out a warping in Stalker just in time. Again, he's not going to lose too much here. These shield batteries are going to keep his Stalkers alive, and oh, PiLiPiLi throws away his weakened Stalker, throws away a 3rd Stalker as well. PiLiPiLi a little bit too distracted by the Oracle. And in one moment, PiLiPiLi just lost 3 Stalkers. We saw how impeccable his micro was against Hunta, but here in the early game against Trigger, he slipped up a little bit too much. I mean, it's understandable. He was warping in the Stalker at home. He was getting stasis, so he was a little bit distracted, but in that kind of moment, Trigger just took advantage of Pili, and now, like, this would be completely different if Pili had 3 more Stalkers. It would be insane. Meanwhile, PiLiPiLi is going to keep trying to break on in, but we have 4 shield batteries. We still have overcharge, by the way. It was never popped. And Trigger, he's just pumping out as many Void Rays and Immortals as possible. Like, the longer this goes on, the less likely it is that PiLiPiLi is going to be able to break him. I mean, Blink is done. He's trying his best to trade as best as he can, but all he trades is shields for shield battery energy. I do like this though. He warps in an Adept. Ideally, we would see 2 Adepts, and he can shade past this wall and maybe go into the mineral line and get some damage done. So there is a little potential, but again, there is only a single Adept. There we go. The shade does go through, and Trigger is going to have to respect this. He's going to have to respond in some way. Oh, the blink into the main! Oh, I love it. It wasn't for economic damage. It was for high ground vision instead. Trigger, he does reposition, but here in his main, he only has a single shield battery compared to the 4 even in that main. We do see the blink on forward. The first Immortal goes down. Decent trades from PiLiPiLi, but we still have 2 more Void Rays where that came from, and another Immortal. And Trigger loses all of his Stalkers. He only has a handful left. He's going to try and reposition here at the natural base, but this is where all the shield batteries are. I just realized we don't even have Warp Gate. Trigger doesn't even need it. Oh my god. And with that, there was some nice moves from PiLiPiLi to get into that main, but he just didn't have the numbers. He just couldn't overwhelm the army that Trigger had. On top of that, Trigger did have a safety shield battery in the main, just in case that kind of scenario did happen. Did have an overcharge if he ever felt threatened. Meanwhile, we do see a blink on forward here. He does take down one of the Void Rays, but that is it. GG gets called, and Trigger defense is natural. Oh my god. PiLiPiLi going for that one base all in, but again, a little bit of this micro in the beginning, and like every single unit you lose in the early game or early on matters so much, especially when you're all in. Like when you have such limited resources, such limited supply, it feels bad, man. And again, slipping up a little bit as well, not denying or not delaying that natural base. Meanwhile, I mean, we gotta praise Trigger, like his defense was insane. Being able to be as greedy as he was, but also recognize the threat that he was under to pump out all those Void Rays, all those Immortals. Even skipping Warp Gate was kind of a bold move. Not gonna lie, it was kind of crazy, but yeah, wow, what a game there by Trigger. And we'll see if our American Protoss can bring it back here in game number 2. But before him, here in the top right hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have our Canadian Protoss player representing Team Super, currently leading this series 1-0. It is Trigger. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have our American Protoss player representing Genesis Gaming, currently down in the series, but not out. It is PiLiPiLi. A bit of a rough game 1, and oh my god, he just doesn't stop. Trigger once again goes for that 1 gate expand. The balls on this man. Even on a map where you don't have a ramp, even on a map where it is supposed to be difficult and even more greedy to do this build, he doesn't even care. Again, Trigger kind of taking notes from Max Packs, from the other greedy Protoss players in the world, and doing the same. This time, again, I imagine PiLiPiLi should be a little bit more on top of denying and delaying this Nexus, as he goes into the main base to make sure that the second pylon is in the main, and there it is, it's right next to the gas geyser, so he should be feeling pretty safe about there being any kind of proxy out on the map. But again, his goal here should be to force as much of a delay as possible. Trigger knows this, that's why again he does have that first Zealot on the way, just in case there is that pylon, but still for the time being we do not see said pylon. At the same time, Trigger, he's in the main base, confirming, okay, likewise, you also have your 2 pylons in your main. Nothing should be out on the map. There we go. PiLiPiLi much more on top of being annoying here and does force out that Zealot. Only the Zealot though, he did have the option to throw down a pylon if he wanted to, but PiLiPiLi didn't want to over-invest in kind of delaying the Nexus. Did at least force out the Zealot. It's more than he was able to do on Blackburn. So again, a much better start here from PiLiPiLi. As we do see him switch things up here. In the previous game, he went for a 1 base Blink Stalker all in with a Twilight Council. Here, in game 2, instead, he is going for that Stargate. Okay. Now, of course, the Stargate is at home, so he's not going to pull a Zest and go for, like, a Void Ray all-in instead at this natural base. Again, that build has been nerfed, especially because shield batteries outside of range of a Nexus do start with half of the original energy that they otherwise would have. So, again, PiLiPiLi is looking to expand, is looking to go into the mid-game. As he's here across the map with his initial 2 Stalkers, just chipping away at the wall. Shouldn't really do too much because there is a shield battery. Just trying to micro as best he can. Oh, but the micro of Trigger isn't too bad either, as both of these Stalkers already lose all their shields. And pretty interesting here. PiLiPiLi going for the Oracle first, which makes plenty of sense. Oh my god, Trigger scouts this. What? How did the probe get in the main? Apparently it did, and Trigger, he probe scouts the fact that an Oracle is coming across the map. Oh my god. I was just a little bit surprised because Trigger was going for a Void Ray first. Meanwhile, quickly checking, yeah, we do have that Void Ray out already here for Trigger. He will have anti-air in his main base. There it is, as it's ready and waiting for the Oracle. And we even have a Phoenix out in time as well. Oh my god, and the Oracle is just going to deal no damage. Probe is still in the main, by the way. Finally, it gets cleaned up. But this initial Oracle does have a hard time dealing too much damage. With this Void Ray, Trigger should be able to defend his natural base. Shield Battery is almost out of energy, but again, we will have that overcharge if need be. Oh, as it's actually a little bit on cooldown, both players do end up trading some of their Stalkers. Phoenix even coming into play, lifting up one of those Stalkers as well. But PiLiPiLi isn't done with his aggression. Sure, one Oracle didn't deal damage, but what about two? That is the question. Two Oracles, of course, can one-shot probes, so with the power of two Oracles, doesn't matter if you have a shield battery, doesn't matter if you have anti-air, you can still deal some damage. And here we go, both Oracles do... never mind. They do head towards the natural, but the Void Rays are in position, and this is a little bit scary. He just kind of telegraphed the location of his Oracles, and now the Phoenixes are on chase, en route, looking to hunt down those Oracles. At the moment, the Oracles were able to... oh, no, never mind. They were able to kind of evade detection, but Trigger is able to zone him out in the end. What I will say is that thankfully both players are getting their naturals up and running, and we are, again, probing up and transitioning, but PiLiPiLi is behind. His Nexus is later. His investments haven't paid for themselves. It's kind of surprising to be in a scenario where we had a double Oracle opener, but they just haven't gotten a single kill in between them. Again, thankfully they're still alive, so there's still potential for them to deal damage. And PiLiPiLi knows that. He's still being active here. They also provide a little bit more utility than just dealing damage. We do see a Revelation on the army. We do see a Stasis Ward here at the potential third base location. But again, it's the potential location. Looking at the vision of PiLiPiLi, he doesn't see that Trigger already has that third base on the way. Ooh, as the Oracle almost gets sniped by that Phoenix. And now it is Trigger's turn to pull said trigger. Blink is about to finish up. He doesn't have a way to reinforce his army, but again, it's his turn to have that map control. He knows that, hey, you invested in all these Oracles that haven't really done too much. I should have a bit of a higher DPS potential here with the Phoenixes and the Void Rays, and just like that, he does blink on forward. We did see PiLiPiLi try and focus down the Void Ray, and it looks like with the defender's advantage, he may have enough. Oh, as he is going to be able to force his way forward and clean up the army of Trigger. Maybe I spoke too soon. He did get the Void Ray, he did get one of those Phoenixes, but just barely was forced back. With the reinforcements, with this kind of defender's advantage, PiLiPiLi should be okay, and Trigger does back off, at least for a little bit, but he's actually reinforcing. Mate, who needs a Warp Prism? Who needs a Proxy Pylon? Trigger just wants to break his opponent. Blink has finished up now for both players, so we do see both of them kind of showing off their Blink micro here. PiLiPiLi holding on, but he doesn't have a defensive shield battery. And just like that, Trigger, he blinks on forward, forces the boys off the line. Ay, and with good enough micro, he's actually gaining some ground here. Will end up losing his Phoenix. So Trigger, he does end up losing his kind of air superiority that he did once have. But I'm sure he's happy with the damage he dealt. He killed 3 probes, he was able to kill the Oracles, and in the end was able to keep the majority of his Stalkers alive. As again, looking at the units lost, Trigger lost 8 Stalkers to the 15 of PiLiPiLi. Ay. Meanwhile, it's PiLiPiLi's turn to be aggressive, as he does have that proxy gateway, just warping in as much units as he can. But after losing that engagement earlier, like, he just doesn't really have the numbers. He has slow lots, I guess, but a little bit of an anti-timing because charge is not yet done. Meanwhile, Trigger, he does fall back to his natural base, forces the overcharge. Immortals are coming out, and defensively with Immortals, even forces out the stasis. Oh my god. And Charge is still not done. Charge is about to finish up in 4 seconds by the time all the Zealots get cleaned up. And we see the aggressive blink on forward. We do have the Chargers coming in to help reinforce. But PiLiPiLi, I feel like he just doesn't have the firepower behind this. He will get on top of that Immortal though. The Immortal does get focused down, but who cares about the Immortal when you have the advantage of Blink Stalkers? Trigger, he blinks on forward, has to be a little bit careful. Trigger actually doesn't know about the reinforcement point. He doesn't know that another wave of reinforcements just came in here for PiLiPiLi, and he will have to go back. But behind this, Trigger, he still has a superior economy. He has both gases at the third base. Meanwhile, PiLiPiLi still working only off of 2, sorry, doesn't even have a gas in his natural, and that's why he's warping in as many Zealots as he is. He just doesn't have the gas to sustain another warping of Stalkers. Trigger essentially all in at this point. Meanwhile, sorry, my mistake. All these Protoss players look alike. PiLiPiLi essentially all in at this point as Trigger is taking a 4th base. Again, he's got all of his gases, he's taking up, he's working on +2. The longer this goes on, the better it is it's going to be for Trigger. Meanwhile, PiLiPiLi, again, he just has to make something happen here. At least there are no Immortals, but we do have a couple of force fields kind of forcing a little bit of an awkward engagement. And Trigger, he's easily going to clean up all these Zealots. There is a bit of a Zealot run by here at the third base location, but we have Zealots to defend, and Trigger, he forces all of this back. And this time, even though we have a warping of reinforcing Zealots, Trigger, I think he just has too much. Like, the numbers are just far too great. The supply does not lie as he blinks on forward, takes out all these Stalkers, and GG gets called. Trigger, he comes out undefeated so far, 2-0 over PiLiPiLi. My god. Up. GG. Meanwhile, massive shout out to SW Pro in the chat. Thank you for the raid. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed your stream. Hope you enjoyed your ladder session, I assume. And welcome everyone. Welcome as we are covering NA Apprentice Group A in Group Stage 2. And wow, what a showing there by Trigger. As I do quickly update the screen here, boom, there it is. Trigger going undefeated, not dropping a single map so far. Still has potential to drop a map. As you see, it is a round robin group. He does have to face Hunta later on, but so far Trigger does secure his spot at the top of this group. GG. GG. Again, we kind of expected that kind of play from PiLiPiLi, going for that hyper aggression. Game 1, he went for a 1-base all-in. Game 2, 3-base all-in. Again, all-in because he didn't have any gases behind it. He didn't have any other tech behind it. He was down in probes, but he just couldn't break through the defenses of Trigger. It felt like Trigger, his micro, his control, and his decision-making, especially early on, was just so damn good. The way that he was able to shut down the Stargate opener, those oracles never really did anything. Even when it came to their stasis traps, they only ever stasised one Stalker. That's kind of all they accomplished. So that's even more resources down the drain for PiLiPiLi, forcing that kind of all-in to be even more hindered when he tried to execute it. And Trigger was even feeling confident enough to expand and take a 4th base. Like that's how ahead he was. But now that we figured out who is coming out on top of this series, we are soon going to figure out who is going to come out at the bottom of this group. As next up, we are going to have our TVZ, our only TVZ of the night, the only series without a Protoss player. The winner, again, will still have a decent shot at getting out of the group. The loser will come out without taking a single win. So this is going to be a pivotal moment in this group. But before said moment, we are now halfway through our group, and we are going to go on a short 5-minute break. Enjoy the duct tapes, get some water, go to the bathroom. In 5 minutes, when we return, we will have that TVZ. See you soon. And And welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that lovely break. Hope you got some water. Hope you hydrated your hydras and stretched your roaches. We are back with 2022 NA Apprentice Season 2, Group Stage 2. Group A. Oh my god. But I am not alone this time in the break. I have found a lone duck, a casting jersey. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Kuro.
Hello there.
Hello.
See, Light is so fast that during the break, when everybody was getting water, he actually traveled all the way to Poland and like dragged me into the cast.
Yes, yes.
Himself.
I found a lost duck, and she found her way home.
Yes. I am back to the pond.
Exactly. So unfortunately, I didn't have Kuro for the beginning of the broadcast, but at least we'll have Kuro for the second half of the broadcast, and kind of the second half, because during the break, as I was setting up for our next series, I did find out the unfortunate truth. I lied to everyone. I said when we come back, we're going to have a TVZ. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. But there's a walkover.
No, why?
Not like this.
Why would you do this?
Hunta, please. I know ZVT is unwinnable. I know, but still.
Is it?
It's
but
not.
ZVT was alright.
It's winnable. That's the thing, right? It's winnable. Like, we saw Hunta against Neo. We saw Hunta against Tavo. I wanted to see his ZVT again. And we're not going to get it.
No. But other than that, what has been going on in this group?
Outside of that, we've seen Trigger. What? Trigger.
Trigger?
All mate Trigger.
Is he like a teammate of Tapo?
He's Tapo's teammate. Yes. He's hit puberty now. But Trigger, mate, he's been slapping everyone around. 2 zeros across the board, even against PiLiPiLi. I thought PiLiPiLi would be able to have a chance, but Trigger is just such a solid player. It wasn't anything special either against PiLiPiLi. He just was defensive. PiLiPiLi just came at him with a bunch of all-ins, and Trigger, he just was a wall. Was the Canadian wall there in the end, and yeah, Trigger, he's sitting pretty nicely at the top of the group so far.
I mean, Trigger in the recent times has been definitely a player who's like on the up and up, and like, you know, he's really reaching the top of the NA scene, I feel like. So soon, he may be like one of the great of the NA scene.
Yeah. Like, I was talking about it at the very beginning of the broadcast. When you think, you know, pro player in North America or the North American representatives, it's been Neeb, Scarlet, and Estrella for like the past 3+ years. Like, that's who you think of when you think North America, when you think NA. But maybe this year, Trigger can break into the top 3. Maybe he can shift things up. Yeah, especially because, like, you know, like, he's just been improving so much over the course of these years, and he just, it doesn't look like he's slowing down. So, you know, he's definitely a player to keep an eye on.
So I just looked at the chat, and our look is like, Light, hello Duck, my name is Yuane, and I am going to pick you up now. Cool, okay. That's exactly what happened. I can confirm. Exactly what happened.
I still think we need like an exclamation mark pickup command.
For those who don't know what we're referring to, there is like, I don't even want to call it a meme. It's a funny video on TikTok, I guess. But like, it's been making rounds recently where somebody is teaching people how to pick up a duck without it running away, and it's really cute.
Yes, it's amazing. It's on our Discord server. If you're not a part of our Discord server, exclamation mark Funada yourself in the chat. And enjoy our Discord, because we do have a lot of fun memes and ducks. A lot of ducks in our Discord server.
Yes, I make sure to keep the supply of duck gifs and videos coming.
Exactly. Plenty of them. But now that we are all caught up, I guess the other thing to add is now Hunta is at the very bottom of the group with that walkover. So the likely, it's gonna be very unlikely that he gets out of this group. I think impossible, actually, for him to get out of this group. So a bit of a feels bad, man. But we still have to figure out who comes out second in this group. Yeah. Is it going to be our Protoss, or is it going to be our Terran?
And it looks like that's exactly the series we're going for next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That it is. Oh boy, I know how much you love PvT.
Look, at least it's not TVT, okay?
True.
I will take any matchup over TVT.
Oh god, exactly.
I mentioned it before. There are very few Terrans that like I enjoy watching for the gameplay itself.
Mhm.
I think one of them was like Kelazur because he was always like very active and stuff. But like yeah, like when I see the tanks on one side and tanks on the other side and they're just like looking at each other tenderly, I'm like, what is going on? But anyway. We are here on 2000 Atmospheres Elite in the match that will decide who will move on, it looks like. I think. I mean, there's one more match. Look, don't map on stream, okay? But here we have the blue Protoss player representing Genesis Gaming. It is PiLiPiLi.
And spawning in.
I just realized this is a replay, so I have to actually observe.
You do. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the American Terran player representing Team License to Kill, LTK. It is Kozan.
So what do you do for Genesis Gaming, Genji?
GG. It's up to you, okay? You're the one that's you're introducing the team, okay? Just saying. You can make it what you want.
I was not made for that kind of voice, unfortunately.
That's what makes it more funny.
GG.
Oh god. I appreciate.
It's like I'm reaching for the voice, like from the depth of my lungs. It's like, where is it?
I appreciate the effort. A for effort, Kuro. Good job.
Thank you. I tried my best.
Oh god. But speaking a little bit about the game, I do hope we get to see a little bit more from Kozan. I know you weren't here for the first series, but to catch you up, we did cast Kozan versus Trigger. And Trigger went for the same build 2 games in a row. He just went for a Blink Stalker opener, 4 gateways, he went across the map and he just killed Kozan.
It's one of those builds. Okay.
It wasn't even an all-in. It was just a regular Blink Stalker opener, and Trigger just walked all over Kozan both games. It was a bit of a feels bad, man. And I'm getting some deja vu because PiLiPiLi is opening up with a Twilight Council.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's already Twilight Council that way. But when Trigger played versus Kozan, did he like blink into the base or was it just like frontal attack?
Game 1, it was a frontal attack. Game 2, it was a blink into the main. Yeah.
So a bit of both.
Yeah. What I will say, in Game 2, Kozan was better prepared for it. That's why Trigger had to blink into the main. But again, like Kozan, he didn't have a bunker in the main base. He did have a tank, but it was exposed. Like it was a bit of a feels bad man moment.
Yeah, that happens. This Reaper is scouting everything, so at least Kozan should have some idea of what's coming.
Yeah, Kozan, he slips into the main base. He confirms that there's a Twilight Council and that it was researching as well. So he should know 100% that it is going to be Blink Stalkers. But that is not stopping Kozan from opening up with Widow Mines and setting up for a little bit of a drop.
I guess once again we come to the same question that we had in most of the groups. Was this match played before or after the series versus Trigger?
I would like to think this is after Trigger. I want to say that Trigger, Kozan, he feels a little bit more refined here in this game. Like he even has like the safety bunker on the low ground, just in case, because going for this build, you are delaying your tank production. That's kind of the downside of it. But we'll see, as again, he is setting up for this one. It's not the most committed. There is no armory. You don't need detection or anything crazy like that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how much I like a Widow Mine drop when, there's most likely Stalkers with Blink, It's like, Yeah, but at the same time, like if PiLiPiLi doesn't notice it in time, it can still do damage. So hey.
Yeah, it definitely can. As that that War Prism, that medevac is on the way towards that main base. What's important is that PiLiPiLi is getting 2 observers, so he's not getting a War Prism, so he's not immediately going across the map. By now, Trigger would already be going. Oh my god.
And that medevac was almost spotted, but now it's gonna be spotted by this probe that's going for a 3rd base. But no! I was gonna say, why is he going around? He could still dive for the natural, but I guess he was expecting there to be an army. I'm not sure about this pattern from Kozan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he did kind of turn around. He wanted to be a little bit cheeky, but he was caught out. PiLiPiLi is trying to catch that medevac in the middle of the map. Little does he know that the medevac did kind of rotate around. Is going back into the natural.
Yeah, it's actually gonna work out in Kozan's favor because all the Starkers are out of the map, so this base is undefended.
Exactly, and here we go. The Widowmine drop does go into the natural base. Do we have a reaction? We do. PiLiPiLi does pull the boys.
Yeah, but Kozan doesn't waste the shots. Leaves one Widowmine just in case. But ooh, this medevac has to unload.
Oh my god.
Just bad.
Yeah, the medevac does get sniped. Both of these Widowmines will borrow, but are we gonna get? Oh my god, we got some shots off.
Yeah, the one in the natural that just stayed there. Like I don't think PiLiPiLi noticed, and he sent all his workers back. So in the end, he did lose 9 probes, and the mine is still there.
Exactly, and for the first time this entire night, Kozan is getting a 3rd CC. He's not dead.
Oh my god, he never reached this point.
Let's go! A lot of it is because PiLiPiLi, he opened up with Blink, but again, he never got that War Prism. He went straight into a robotic space, so PiLiPiLi is approaching this in a bit of a different manner. He's focusing a lot more about getting into the mid-game and getting Colossus as soon as possible.
So he's focusing a bit more on a solid macro game, not as much harassment. I'm not sure if I exactly like it to not harass the opponent at all, but you know, at least that lets him build up a bigger army without the risk of losing anything. So maybe it will just work out.
Yeah. I mean, again, he already has that 1 Colossus. Soon he's gonna have a 2nd. Soon he's gonna have extended thermal lance. So he should be pretty safe and sound against this push. I say pretty safe. Kozan is now moving out across the map, and he's got 2 tanks. More importantly, he has a Raven ready and waiting to disable those Colossus. Yeah,
the Raven is gonna be really nice there, especially because right now there's only 1 Colossus. There's another one in the making, I think. Yeah, it's joining the army right now, so the 1 Raven I think should be enough to get rid of those for quite a while, and the rest of the army is not that big.
Exactly, right? The Colossus are the backbone of this army, so PiLiPiLi has to be so careful. He has to make sure he's able to zone out that Raven and not expose his Colossus. Meanwhile, the tanks move on forward. They will siege up. Oh, Colossus extended thermal lance did just finish.
Yeah, I would say this was a really nice position for Kozan because the Raven could jump in from the side, but he decides against it.
Yeah, he wants to wait for the opportune moment when he forces an engagement. Speaking of forcing an engagement, he does elevator into that main base. Doesn't unload though. Oh my god, no! Oh.
No! Both medevacs actually going down with a big chunk of the bio army. That's very unfortunate for Kozan. Seems like he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, a little bit of miss micro. I'm sure he was supposed to queue up to drop the medevacs, but again, unfortunately, misclicked a little bit there. Losing 2 full medevacs means that he has to go back.
Yeah, he actually decides to move back. He leaves a Widowmine there, so is he gonna get the zealots? Then he's gonna get the zealots. Yeah. They don't die anyway, never mind.
I mean, some decent damage, like lost shields on the Colossus, did a little bit of damage on the zealots.
I just saw 5 Widowmines just walk in, but never mind, there's the rest of the army, but all this thermal lance is actually clearing up this army.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but those 5 Widowmines, they died immediately. Like, I think one shot it went off, if one shot. Meanwhile, we didn't see a disable. Instead, we saw an anti-armor missile, and it just wasn't enough. PiLiPiLi cleans up the entire army.
Yeah, and thanks to that, he's able to take his 4th Nexus right now. So Kozan has to do some catching up.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a hard thing if the Terran player loses his tanks and loses his Widowmines like that, because that was the backbone of his army. We were talking about the Colossus for the Protoss, but it was all about the tanks for Kozan. And now he just doesn't really have much at all. He has some bio and he has 2 Widow Mines, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm a bit worried when I see that he just keeps making Widow Mines, but I guess that's all he has right now.
Yeah, that he does. Meanwhile, at the same time, PiLiPiLi is getting ready for a bit of a surround. He does take out those Widow Mines. Again, they just don't have the range to zone out these Colossus. Oh my god, we're gonna have a bit of a surround. Up.
Yeah, at the same time, the warping of Zealots is gonna sandwich his army, and all these buyers should be trapped. Oh, actually, no, they move away.
Yeah, the buyer was lubed up beforehand. He just slip away from all those Zealots, but he abandons his 3rd base. The Colossus go to town on that mineral line. Disruptors are coming in as well.
One disruptor shot can kill most of this army. He has to be so careful. I'm not sure he has enough of the Marines here.
Oh my god, exactly. Widowmine shot goes off. The Disruptor's coming in. The Nova goes off on the army, but the Disruptor gets focused down in time. But what about the Colossus?
Yeah, the 2 Colossi still stand strong. There's still the War Priest for more reinforcements, and the army is gone.
GG. Well played. PiLiPiLi does take game number 1, but at least Kozan was able to get into the mid game, but just a couple of crucial mistakes. Losing 2 full medevacs like that, that's insane.
That was so sad to see when he just like, yeah, it's like, you know, it's like this really like precise moment where you load them up, you move them like to the main, and they're like, he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's like he went back to macro or something, and the medevacs were just chilling, and like it's like, us? What are we doing something? It's, you know, it's a little bit of an awkward moment, and I think I feel like if not for this mistake, it could maybe actually be pretty good for Kozan, because he did have quite a large army when like PiLiPiLi was still ramping up.
Yeah. On top of that, bearing in mind like that Widowmine drop did deal damage. You know, it killed what 9-10 probes. There was a decent shot in the natural base. Like that was a good start for Kozan. He just couldn't really capitalize on that start in the end, and fumbled a little bit in the follow-up. Feels bad, man.
I mean, just that's what it is. Like, you know, in a game of StarCraft, you just may make a mistake, and like it's just, you know, switches, like it turns the tide of the whole game.
Yeah, I
so
feel,
you know, I just say that like that's something that a lot of people say, that attention is another resource that's like isn't clearly stated.
Yeah, exactly. Attention is finite in a game of StarCraft, and you have to pick and choose where you want to place it. I feel a little bit bad for Sugar in the chat, because you can see him. He's like, "Let's go! Kozan isn't dead. Let's go!"
Yeah, with the crabs. The crab Kozan isn't dead.
Yes, crab, rave it up. Let's go.
Yeah, but unfortunately, even the crabs dancing weren't enough in the first game. But we are in the second game on Glittering Ashes, when we have our victorious player from the previous match, from the previous game. It is the blue Protoss player, representing Genesis Gaming. GG! It is PiLiPiLi.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have the American Terran player representing Team License to Kill, LTK. It is Kozan.
I'm just doing it for the meme at this point. I just like seeing your reaction to it.
Oh god. It's great. It's great. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We've started something here on the CranKy Ducklings, and we're not stopping. We don't know how. We don't know how.
We don't know how. Yeah, that's pretty good description.
Oh god. Yeah, I hope Kozan does well, representing License to Kill, one of the strongest teams in North America. I know. I hope he's going to be able to represent them well. I know they're going to be tuning in. In general, I feel like LTK they do a really good job at like supporting each other as a team. I feel. I know I don't know too much about the inner workings of the team, but yeah.
I mean, all I can say is that like I do see a lot of players from LTK in like various weekly tournaments, so they definitely show up for events.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this probe almost dying.
And PiLiPiLi being a little bit annoying, trying to delay the CC for as long as possible, but nothing too crazy going on. I guess the biggest thing of note is that Kozan did opt to skip his Reaper, which is a very bold thing to do, especially on a large map like this, but yeah, he's opting to go for a Marine first instead.
Yeah, that's a very interesting choice. I mean, he did do SCV scout, so I guess he's not afraid of an all-in or anything, but still, like, you know, skipping that valuable information is very bold.
Yeah, I would say it's bold, especially because he's up against PiLiPiLi. I feel like PiLiPiLi is known for his aggression, and sometimes cheese, so yeah, like you want to be able to scout your opponent. Like we saw how important it was even in game 1, where the Reaper was able to get into the main base and confirm the opener of Pili.
Do you think he's just gonna like blindly prepare for a blink?
Okay,
like attack.
You kind of have to. But we'll see, because Kozan is going for a very different build compared to game number 1.
Indeed he is. He's just pumping out Marines and more Marines and even more Marines. Just going for 2-on-1, it looks like.
Yeah, it isn't as committed as like a 3 racks opener for like a mass buyer push. But what's important is that this game, unlike the previous one, we're not going to see a Widowmine drop. You know, that's just not going to happen here. Kozan is going to be working on a much stronger like ground push instead.
No, a Cyclone as well, just in case something flies by from the side of the Protoss. But yeah, we're having just men with gun. Do you think he's even gonna... He's gonna just move out with a Medivacs, right?
I imagine so. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna move out with Stim. Like the tech lab has finished up. Stim should be the upgrade of choice for Kozan. A little bit surprisingly, he doesn't go. It is not a 2-on-1. He doesn't go for a starport next. He goes for a 3rd barracks. So he's gonna be that much more committed.
Yeah, just going straight up for 3rd barracks. It's just aggression. You know, men with gun. We know how good they are.
Oh yeah, it's
and
the best.
With Steam, they are pretty strong.
It's the best unit in the game, definitely.
No, even Terrans admit that. I watched yesterday as on the I think it was kind of a pylon show. Like the people of pylon show had a bit of a fun stream where they were rating units like in that tier list, the thingy. And like, you know, they had representation from each race, and even Upper Tree, even Sal, who is a Terran, said that Marine is straight up just tier S. Just the highest possible.
Yeah,
like nobody argues that.
We all know how much of a Terran apologist Sal is, so if for Sal to admit that there is a good Terran unit, I mean, that's insane.
I mean, no, actually he rated Terran units fairly high.
Oh my god. He's honest for once. So let's go. I love you, Sal. I love you. Oh my god. But here we go. So PiLiPiLi does finally get across the map with his observer, and he does finally confirm the opener of his opponent. He's been pretty like reclusive and stuck at home for a very long time, but now he confirms, oh my god, that army count is looking pretty high. We have 3 racks already done. Stim should be finishing up pretty soon. And there's going to be a pretty powerful push coming out from Kozan as soon as these 2 medevacs are done. And I'm a little bit worried for PiLiPiLi. He has been rushing out for Colossus again. He's working on charge as well. He doesn't really have a pretty large army, and I'm concerned because we need that Colossus ASAP. He's busy making an observer right now, but he needs Colossus as soon as possible.
Yeah, what I'm even more worried about is that he decides to actually move out on the map and try to like attack at Kozan. Oh, he may actually... No, he's not going to catch this drop, but it was very close.
Oh, yeah, the drop does move out. Unfortunately for these Stalkers, they are not in position just... Oh, God, they're not in position just barely, as they do test the waters on the front line, but there is a Rax at home to defend, and the drop has gone unscattered.
Yeah, the good part for Pili is that his Colossus is already on the way, so he may be able to defend, but it's actually rallied to the 3rd base, so if he doesn't notice that the drop is coming, this may be devastating damage.
Yeah. Again, this Colossus is also a little bit late, a little bit delayed. You know, maybe we would already have one at this point. PiLiPiLi is outside the main base to scout a push, so he will confirm this as the army is starting to move out, so he should be able to blink back. Does lose 1 Stalker, but again, he's not really ready, and he can't really recall either. If he tries to recall, like, the army is just going to catch up to the Stalkers.
Yeah, indeed. As these two medivacs are now in the main base and they are beginning to drop out, and the probes have to be evacuated, and he does recall the Stalkers.
Does barely recall in time, but now there's not lots to defend this Colossus. Ah!
Yeah, just the sentries in the Colossus, the shield battery definitely helps, but this is not a huge army from the Protoss.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, Colossus, no, it's overextending a little bit. The Disruptor, sorry, the Widowmine goes off.
Yeah, I think PiLiPiLi was focusing on the defense in the main, and he does clear up most of the Marines. But, you know, he did lose that Colossus, which is quite valuable.
Yeah, exactly. Well worth it here for Kozan. He does back off. He's going to be able to regroup his army. He's not going to try and overwhelm the forces here at the third base, which is understandable because, again, he still has to wait for those reinforcements. Behind this, we are getting a third base. Kozan is expanding. He's not 2 base to win or anything crazy like that, but he still has a pretty scary army.
Yeah, and he's gonna use it here. PiLiPiLi actually moves out against him, and he scares him off for now, but... yeah, no, actually, it's starting to look better for PiLi with all of these Zealots and the Colossus, but the drop is just coming to the main.
Yeah, thankfully, PiLiPiLi was able to barely scout it with that hallucination, so his army is being repositioned. He has to be a little bit careful with this Colossus, but again, he is on the low ground. He is safe and sound. He will be able to force this drop back.
Yeah, very nice for PiLi to notice that, but at the same time, there's an army moving against his third base.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We do see the stim on forward. Maybe a bit of a premature stim, but in come the rest of the reinforcements. The Colossus is still exposed. We do have an overcharge. Overcharge is going to keep the Colossus alive for now.
Yeah, but once again, Kozan is using both armies, and now the double drop is actually moving against his natural, actually. He's just walking them in, as the third base is still being under siege.
Yeah, exactly. PiLiPiLi, he is holding on for the time being. PiLiPiLi slipping up in the macro a little bit here. We need to see some more warpins or maybe some more production as well, as he's banking almost 2k minerals. The robot gets taken out.
Yeah, the robot is taken down. Fortunately, the Colossus did get out, so at least PiLiPiLi has these 3 Colossi, but the attacks just keep happening on both sides, and PiLi has to really split his army.
Yeah, exactly. So far, he's been doing a pretty good job. Like, he does warp in another round of those Zealots. He still has these 2 Colossus. He does hold on to the third base, but I'm a little bit afraid. He still hasn't rebuilt that Robo. There we go. Double Robo thrown down to try and catch up in those Colossus. But for the time being, what he has is all he has.
Yeah, I mean, that said, what he has is not too bad. He actually managed to build up quite an army, and Kozan's bio may not fare that well with all these 3 Colossi here.
Oh my god, we will see though, because the Colossus are a little bit exposed. The Zealots, they go straight for the mineral line, but now the Colossus are all on their own.
Yeah, actually they were left without backup, and the whole army of Protoss is decimated.
Yeah, exactly. All that's left are the Zealots. You had one job, you had to protect the Colossus, but we had the full surround. Every single Colossus gets picked off. Kozan, he loses 13 SCVs, but that's fine because there are 0 Colossus on the field. The Robos are just now finishing up, and we need... we're getting Immortals instead. I mean, anything is better than nothing, but Kozan is on the way.
Yeah, he actually switches to Disruptors, but it will be a while before they will be here, and the Terran army is already at the third base fighting the Stalkers.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a warp-in of Zealots. We do have an overcharge being popped as well. PiLiPiLi, he needs to defend, but the Widowmine shots go off.
Yeah, they go off mostly on Zealots, which is nice, but they don't exactly kill them. Oh, that was nice EMP though. Or was it? Actually, let me think about this.
Yeah, EMP connected on some of the Stalkers, but oh my god,
yeah.
What's important is that there are now ghosts here. Is there enough to really overwhelm all these gateway units? It looks like barely there isn't, but the Widowmines are about to reset.
Oh, they barely didn't trigger, and now the Disruptors are on the field, so this small Terran army has to actually be very careful.
It really does. We should be seeing an over to help clear up some of these.
It's so close.
There we go.
Oh, he noticed the Widowmines there.
Yeah, cheeky micro there. One of the Widowmines does get saved barely in time by Kozan. The reinforcements are on the way as well. +3 attack is en route as well. Jesus Christ. But does he have enough to take out all these gateway units and take out the Disruptors?
Yeah, he once again EMPs all the Zealots, but the shield batteries just recharge them almost instantly, and the Terran army has to move back for now.
Yeah, exactly. Kozan, he has to respect those disruptors. Earlier, he had the advantage of attacking with against 0 robo units, but now the disruptors are out.
Those disruptors are naked.
Oh, they are very exposed, but Kozan, he does not dive on top of them. He doesn't punish that. PiLiPiLi, he now has 4 disruptors. With 4 disruptors, he's looking pretty safe enough, I would say, to even expand and try and take a 4th base.
Yeah, I mean, with disruptors, you really have to keep on your toes, because like one mistake and like half of your army may be gone. But these disruptors are very brave, just walking across the map.
Oh my god, 3 Purification Novas go off to take out 1 Marauder. There is still 1 Nova remaining here, so Kozan, he can't dive on this army just yet, but look at that production tab. Ay, we have more reinforcements on the way. We have upgrades on the way as well. And PiLiPiLi, that's the 2nd time now. He's trying to expand, but the Widow Mines are being so annoying.
Yeah, once again, a nice EMP on all the units, but there are shield batteries there, so that will be quickly fixed. But there are still so many Novas.
Oh yeah, exactly. One of the ghosts was taken out by said Novas, but again, PiLiPiLi just can't expand. He's trying desperately to get a 4th base up and running here at the triangular 3rd. This is going to be the 3rd time he heads on over. Ay.
Oh no. Oh no. Let me zoom in.
Oh god. Not like this.
I've seen the chat.
That Widow Mine has 3 probe kills.
And it's all these probes just coming in to put a base.
Meanwhile, the main army of PiLiPiLi is going to be able to push away that of Kozan. Kozan can't really, again, engage with these disruptors. Again, that disruptor count is getting pretty high. I would like to see PiLiPiLi mix things up and get a couple of Colossus as well to really round out this army. But the drop gets into the natural base.
Yeah, Kozan used it as a distraction, and this Colossus may actually be a victim of this drop. Yeah, it goes down.
Ooh. At the same time, in comes that army into the 3rd base. PiLiPiLi is being pulled apart right now. Again, in a head-on engagement, I want to favor PiLiPiLi because of all these disruptors, but the target fire!
Ooh, this Nova lands though, and half of the army is gone, which means the rest can be cleared by the Stalkers, but at the same time, there is a bit of a drop in the main. A little bit.
A little bit. There's only 2 Marauders. It looks like PiLiPiLi will be able to clean everything up. Again, that was a very Beyond-esque move of Kozan to try and target fire all of those disruptors, and he got like 2 of them. But just like Beyond, he also takes the disruptor shot to the face. So
yeah,
God.
Like he sniped 2, but then there's the 3rd one, and half of your army is gone. You know, that's the risk.
Exactly. What we can say though is that because of Kozan's economy, he has rebuilt his army. Like, he has gotten back up in supply. Oh my god, the EMPs do connect with the army. 1 Nova goes off, but there are only 2 disruptors with this army.
Yeah, and there are no shield batteries here, so all this army of Protoss is vulnerable, but this Nova takes a bit more units, and now actually Protoss is overpowering Kozan.
Yeah, exactly, but again, there are no more Novas remaining. We need some EMPs to take down these Archons, and there we go, we do see the EMPs, and with that, Kozan is able to force PiLiPiLi back once again.
That said, the Medivacs are out of energy, so this bio army is so low, and they can't actually get healed.
Oh, the splits are pretty good. Only a single Marauder goes down, another Nova goes off, a Marauder and a Marine go down, and that is it. That is all PiLiPiLi has. The army of Kozan is steaming on forward, but again, he's also running out of units.
Yeah, the Zealots will clean up a good chunk of the army, and the Stalkers are there as well, but it's just enough bio, I think, for now, but the Colossus are here.
But what is there to protect these Colossus? There's 4 Stalkers. That is it. That is all that PiLiPiLi has. He is running out of steam. He's warping in another round of Zealots just in time to help make sure these Colossus don't get taken out again.
I mean, look at those units of the Terran. They are all like in the red, in the orange, and like the Medivacs like use all the energy they can charge.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we have a couple of these High Templars. It's going to take a while for them to morph into those Archons. We are going to have 1 EMP on these Ghosts. We do have the EMP on the Colossus.
Yeah, very nice, but he's not able to quite snipe them yet, but those are both like very small armies just fighting for every unit.
The boys are being pulled, the Purification Nova goes up, but the Disruptor gets focused down, that is it! And now in comes the army. Is it going to be enough? The army is falling and there's only Colossus remaining!
Yeah, the Colossus went down. There is a High Templar, but they can't really do anything, and Kozan holds.
Yeah, exactly. GG gets called. PiLiPiLi never gets a 4th base up. He could never expand. He could never deal with those Widow Mines, and he was all in.
Hey, Sugar, Kozan won a game.
Kozan won a
Yeah,
game.
there you go.
Let's go. GG, we are going to our ace match, and you joke about Kozan winning a game, but he got the walkover over Hunter. If Kozan wins this third game, I should say, the ace match, he can get out of the group. He can get out.
There you go. There you go. Like, see, all these walkovers are very meaningful, you know? They really change the balance of the group, and like, you know, suddenly Kozan is one game away from coming out.
Yeah, exactly. He is so close. Oh, so close. Oh, we'll see if he can pull it off, mate, because we are going into our ace match. We're going into game 3, and game 3 is gonna be on Hardwire. Oh.
Still broke my brain now. Every time I hear Hardwire, it's like the wire that is hard. I'm like,
It's a pretty hard wire.
I just groan to myself.
Oh god. What an intense back and forth game number 2. Hopefully we see more of that here in the ace match.
Indeed. As we have the first of our contestants, the blue Protoss player, representing Genesis Gaming. GG! It is PiLiPiLi. I saw that.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire LE, winning his first game of the group. Let's go! Representing Team License to Kill LTK, it is Kozan.
So see guys, the way I have it set up when I cast, I have like this really small window of Light's webcam, and I'm just watching his reactions every time I tell a bad joke. And that's one of my favorite things about casting.
There's a lot of bad jokes. There are a lot. Yeah.
I'm very proud.
Oh god. But yeah, what a game there to take. Kozan, like, it was very back and forth, it was very close, but there were a couple of very cheeky moves here and there, you know, constantly going for those drops, the EMPs connecting with the army, the annoying Widow Mines, you know, denying the fourth base time and time again.
Yeah. So in the end, it was a very good game for Kozan. And we see what he decides to do this time. If he will also go for, like, you know, the free axe, the late free axe, I would call it, I guess, because it's a free axe with a factory in between. I'm not gonna go into Terran math, like, still is not here.
It's a safe, it's a safe 3-1. Okay, it's like a 2-1. 1-1. And we do see PiLiPiLi being very annoying here, forces the CC just a little bit off of location, so not the biggest of deals, but it will have to lift up later on.
Yeah, I mean, Terras could deal with that. It's still annoying, but it's like, you know, not a huge amount of damage. And as we see, this time Kozan does opt for that Reaper.
Oh yeah. I appreciate this. Kozan is playing this a little bit safer compared to the previous game, making sure he's able to scout his opponents, and it makes sense. I mean, we're in the ace match, you know, your life is essentially on the line right now. You cannot afford to make mistakes, you cannot afford to take those risks.
Indeed. It's to be very good. I mean, you never know what the player is gonna do, especially after like a very back and forth game. Like, a lot of players will like try something more aggressive, something maybe even cheesy, so you have to be careful.
Meanwhile, I like how Lord Logan's like cringe cam. Yes, there is cringe cam. There is. Oh god.
I'm gonna screenshot it for you just right now.
No. Oh god. Meanwhile,
time to post it in Snapchat.
Meanwhile, PiLiPiLi is opening up a little bit differently. Of course, we do still have the Twilight Council opener, which he has consistently done every single game, but we have a fast Robo and Kuro. Do you see what I see?
Hold on. No, I don't.
What?
Because they are cloaked.
Ah!
I didn't expect that one, did you?
God.
Are you happy I'm here?
Oh god, we do have a Dark Shrine in the natural base. Kozan does have a Reaper, so there is still potential for him to scout it. He does try to slip into the main. Is the wall? It is, so he does not get into the natural base. He does not scout the Dark Shrine.
Yeah, that he doesn't.
Oh,
It's just like this actually is very close, so actually as this Reaper now gets into the main, it may just do it. No! It's blocked by the probes and the StarCraft takes it down before it can see anything.
That's kind of a scout. He saw the Twilight Council. More importantly, he saw that the Twilight Council was not researching. So
yeah,
will he put 2 and 2 together? Maybe Blink was just chronoed out, and maybe Blink just finished, so it doesn't matter. We'll see, because there is no NG Bay, there are no missile targets, there is no detection outside of scans, and the DTs are here.
Yeah, and the Widow Mine drops that he's sending out barely miss the Worm Priest as well, as it's now going into the main base.
Is this game? Is this just game? DT in the main, DT in the natural. We have enough for one scan, and there it is. It's in the natural base. It does take out one of the DTs. Engineering Bay gets started, but the main base is still completely forfeit.
Yeah, at the same time, the Wind Mine drops was about to go in, but actually Kozan brings it back.
The all-army hockey, no! Kozan, okay, he does turn back around. He has to make sure he deals damage with this Wind Mine drop. Meanwhile, everything is falling left and right. There's no way for Mr. Start to finish. All the Marines are dead!
He gets 9 throws, but it's nothing compared to all of his SCVs falling down. Even the tank goes down.
Not like this! GG, well played.
See, remember how we were saying? Remember how we were saying that you have to be prepared because there may be something aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, you know, he was trying to scout. He was trying to scout with his Reaper. He did get into the main base. Yeah. It was unlucky that the tech of choice was in the natural, not the main. Feels bad, man. Kozan, he wasn't prepared. His entire army, even with the scan, he just didn't have the DPS to kill all the DTs.
Yeah. I mean, he did invest into that Widow Mine drop, so like, you know, most of his units were those Widow Mines, so at that point he really didn't have anything.
Yeah. Sugar is saying...
unfortunately, you take.
Yeah, Sugar is saying that, the potential for a Raven was there as well, but unfortunately, I do think that Kozan was panicking a little bit once the DTs revealed themselves. Like, we saw the all-army hockey, like, used as well, which is a bit of a tell that he was like a little bit frantic, and yeah, that
usually means that, like, he wasn't expecting it, so like he suddenly tried to defend his base, but yeah, it's not his game, unfortunately, and fortunately for PiLiPiLi, who takes the series.
Yeah, GG. Congratulations, PiLiPiLi. He does take the series 2-1 in the end there. So PiLiPiLi looking poised to come out second of his group. We're gonna have to do some math to really confirm that.
No.
But
Sugar, do the math for us, okay?
Oh god, but I do think that PiLiPiLi is looking pretty good in the group, and I do think overall we have our standings already. But we still have one series remaining.
Indeed we do, and that is our ranked one in the group, Trigger versus Hunta.
Oh, exactly. And I have confirmation here. Hunta did not forfeit, so even though he did forfeit against Kozan, he will still play out his series against Trigger. And again, I'm very, very disappointed in Hunta, just because I'm a fan. I want to see his games, and I do think that it was possible for him to have beaten Kozan in his series. Yeah. Like, that wasn't it shouldn't have been one-sided by any means. So the potential would have been there to maybe even still get out of the group.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly the cause of the walkover is, but it's possible that, like, you know, they just simply ran out of time because maybe, like, you know, their schedules just didn't sync up. Like, you know, that happens.
Yeah. A lot of these,
because, you know, he didn't, like, drop the whole group. He dropped a specific match, so maybe they just, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, a lot of these players are, like, there are very few full-time pro players in North America. So a lot of these players have either full-time jobs, or they are part-time students, or even full-time students. So it can be difficult to find time to play your games. So unfortunately, Hunta, he did have to forfeit, and because of that, he isn't going to be getting out of the group, but he is still he still has a series left, and I mean, even though he can't get out of the group, taking down a player like Trigger, like that's still going to be some pretty big result if he's able to do so.
You can still do it, like, and like we know that there are players, like obviously once again we don't know exactly the order of these matches, but like there are players who play better once they are eliminated because there's just nothing like on the line. You're just playing, and they actually like work better without the pressure.
Exactly. Depending on when this series got played, like the pressure could be off, and Hunter can have an easier time to play out his games. At the same time, Trigger, he's shown his dominance in PvT and in PvP. His PvZ is honestly pretty good as well. It's pretty good. Oh boy.
You were leading up to as if it's his worst match. I was like, no, this one is also good.
Yeah.
It's just good.
He's just good. He's just a good player. He's just good.
Oh no.
All right, here we go. We are diving into our final series of the night. We'll see if Trigger will still go undefeated, or if there's going to be a little bit of a blemish on his record, and if Hunta can get some points on the board.
Indeed. Yes, we are loading into Hardwire LE. And we have our first player, the Red Protoss representing Canada and Team Super. It is Trigger.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have the American Zerg player, the only Zerg player in the entire group representing Root Gaming. It is Hunta.
How do you think he got to this name?
That's a good question, because we were talking about this last week. Hunta is a name change. Originally, he was called Farmcakes. That was his original online ID. So to switch from Farmcakes to Hunta, that's a good question. Yeah, maybe he's a Hunter x Hunter fan. I don't know. I don't know.
But why Hunter and not Hunter?
True. I mean, it's a little bit edgier, right? Hunter, it's like.
I guess. Maybe it's not related at all. It's actually like an entirely different word.
Maybe. Sugar, get on the case. Let us know if you know the reasoning behind the name change for Hunter. I mean, I
also.
Go on.
No, say.
I was gonna say Farm Cakes isn't the most intimidating name, so I mean.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely not. But look, we have players called Bunny, and they are pretty good. So,
True.
You don't need the name to be good.
Yeah. We even had 2 players called Bunny, and they were both pretty good in their own time.
They were both pretty good. Yeah.
True. Oh god, striking fear into the hearts of the people. The terrifying Bunny. Meanwhile, a bit of a shout out to Tapo in the chat. Hello, Tapo.
Yeah, I was gonna say hello to Tapo.
Oh god. Unfortunately, oh god, his Trigger's being so annoying here with his initial worker. Doesn't get a kill. But yes, unfortunately, we will not be casting your group, Tapo. We did have the choice, but we decided to go for the group with a Zerg player. So I feel a little bit of a feels bad, man, but do not worry, because Tapo, you will have your group casted in a couple of days. That's of course going to be Group D over on Chicken Man's channel.
Oh, okay. If I'm awake, I'll try to go to Chicken Man's chat and make sure to spam Tapo.
Yes. We will be
with
sure.
No context. With no context, just Tapo.
Yes, we'll be cheering for you. We'll be cheering for you, Tapo. We'll be there in Chicken Man's chat, or we'll try to be there, depending on the hour, the time that it is casted. But it's a pretty good group. Tapo's there. Patty Mac is there as well. Our ex-boy, if you will. I can't remember the other players, but those are definitely the players that I'm gonna be cheering for.
Yeah, the other players are Future and Ninja.
Future and Ninja. Oh, okay. A household name in Future and more of a newcomer of Ninja. But of course, we are still here in Group A, and the initial adept does end up getting a single drone kill. And speaking a little bit about the openers, Trigger does go for that Stargate.
He does, and he goes for it, Oracle. So I guess he's gonna be trying to harass the Zerg a little. I feel like that's a bit of an older style, maybe. But I guess it will be coming back in popularity now with the Void Ray nerfs.
Yeah. I mean, Oracle openers, they have always had their place, but ooh, it is not just one Oracle. We have a second Oracle behind this. Interesting. Typically, we have one Oracle and then a Void Ray. Like, the Void Rays still have their place to clear out Overlords and deny vision. But Trigger, he doesn't even care.
I mean, you know, 2 Oracles can one-shot drones, so it's pretty good, especially because ever since the last patch, like, the Zergs learned to make a lot of queens, and I mean a lot of queens. Look at the laser. Then, like, 2 Oracles may actually be pretty useful.
They may. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of a Ling flood. Unfortunately, the Oracle did stay at home, so the Lings aren't really going to find too much damage. And yeah, there we go. Do activate the Pulsar Beam. Lings are forced back. And why stop at 2 when you can get 3?
4. 4.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Lings are back with a vengeance, and the Stalker is going to get picked off, and there is no wall behind it. The Lings, they get into the main.
They do get in the main, and they do see that there's actually a Twilight Council behind this, so it's not gonna be Mass Oracle, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very sad.
3 oracles are the standard, as in, like, very rarely do you see just 2. 3, it is 2 to harass across the map, and the 3rd to protect your 3rd base against Ling run bias. So you can kind of use them in conjunction like that. As there we go, the 2 oracles are moving out across the map. But that was honestly a pretty nice scout. Very well done there by Hunta.
Yeah, very nice of him to manage to slip by those Zerglings. Like, I guess when you set that unit in the wall, you don't really expect to lose it. Ooh, but these oracles have to be careful.
Oh yeah, with 3 oracles, mate, you can focus down the queen, especially because there's no energy for transfuse.
Yeah, indeed. And now the queens are going down, and this 3rd base will be fairly undefended.
Oh, exactly. Thankfully, there are a couple of spores, one in the mineral line and one between the bases, so Hunta will not lose too many workers, but losing a queen like that, oh, it does hurt.
Yeah, and this one is very hurt as well, so it will take a while for it to regenerate, so he has to be very careful about it.
He really does. Meanwhile, we do see Hunta is committed to a more Roach Ravager, Ling Bane kind of ground composition, which honestly does very well against ground toss, especially in the mid game, and he was able to confirm that it was indeed ground toss, as Trigger is going for that Gateway Explosion, and even going for a Templar Archives.
Yeah, as Blink is on the way as well, so we will see quite a few Stalkers, it looks like. And some of them are already in the middle of the map. I'm not sure if the Overlord has spotted them, but it will now.
Yeah. Does confirm that it is, of course, Stalkers and not something crazy like Charge Lots or even like a Lake Glaive Depth Push or anything like that. Meanwhile, I just want to say that this is a very aesthetically pleasing SimCity. I approve.
Which one? The one at the top?
Yeah, Trigger. Yeah, in his main base.
Yeah, the straight line.
Yeah. Take note, players. Your SimCity, it matters. Trigger.
Watch him get stuck.
True. We do see Trigger. He does try to be a little bit aggressive, but there are plenty of roaches on the ground to force him back. Behind this, we see Lings on the way, bailing speed as well. So Hunta getting into a very well-rounded army composition.
At the same time, the oracles are trying to see if they can get any damage, but the queens and spores are there to defend, so one of the oracles takes a bit of damage and drops the revelation.
Yeah, no real economic damage done yet, as Hunter establishes his 4th base and pushes out across the map. Very interesting. Hunter, he has foregone droning here for an army instead, as he's massing another wave of Lings behind this. Surprisingly, Trigger is the one with the worker lead at the moment, which is not something you see too often, and now in is coming Hunter.
Yeah, he's trying to attack on this 4th base, I guess. I guess it's a 3rd, it was 1st. And he actually will sandwich this Protoss army. There are a lot of Archons, but there's actually not a big army.
Yeah, the Banelings crash on forward. Overcharges pop to try and keep this army alive. But as you said, there's not a lot to protect the Archons, and one of them already gets picked up.
Yeah, the Oracles are back to deal with the Ravagers, and I think there will be just enough to clean this up, but it still took quite a lot of the supply.
Yeah, and this is scary because this was a very committed attack. We didn't have very many drones behind this. The 4th base was not saturated. Hunter, this push was designed to kill the 3rd base, and the 3rd is fine. It is perfectly fine, and now Trigger is going for a counterattack.
Indeed he is. And you know, of course, as Zerg do, the Hunta is trying to remax as fast as possible. but can he do this in time? He doesn't have the Ravagers. He has morphed a few Banelings, so he has that. But I'm not sure if he has enough. He's even sending the links on the other side of the map.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. He lost every single Ravager. Without Ravagers, it's so difficult to defend against this push. Banelings do roll into those Zealots, which is a great start, but now the Zealots are getting on top of those Roaches. Link counterattack is going to deal some damage, but Trigger, he can afford to lose workers.
Yeah, the Icons are still standing strong. The Zealots do not have charge yet, so they are at least kiteable, but there's still so many of them left.
Yeah, exactly, and it's the Immortals and the Stalkers that are really dishing out all of that damage. Meanwhile, every single probe goes down at that third base. 24 probes go down, and Trigger is still ahead in the economy.
Yeah, and now the drones are starting to fall as well as the Stalkers are in the mineral line, and the single Archon is holding off the reinforcements.
Meanwhile, those Zealots were kited to death. Hunta was able to deal with all of them. He is defending. He is forcing Trigger all the way back. Beautifully done, but Trigger did keep his Immortals alive. And what do we have at home to defend? Oh, we don't have a Robotic Spade. We don't have Disruptors. Hunta is going for the counterattack.
Yeah, the Roaches are moving at the third. The Zerglings are still doing some damage at the fourth base. And these Immortals have to be like kited really well.
Yeah, exactly. We do see the juggling is pretty good from Trigger. He hasn't lost a single Immortal yet, but oh my god, he has to be careful. There we go. One of the Immortals does get picked up.
Yeah, the Zealots are here and the charge is about to finish, so they will be much stronger, but they are slowly falling down before it's finished.
Yeah, exactly. But in come the reinforcements from that third base. The Lings have finally been cleaned up, and with the reinforcements, Trigger is going to be able to hold onto his third base.
The Oracles come back once again, but the Roach army is already moving away.
It's like, Oracles, what the hell have you guys been doing this entire time? Like, what's going on?
Like, we just got the memo. What's going on?
Yeah, Trigger does finally pull them back, and what's scary is the Immortal count. It has slowly been increasing throughout the course of this game. One of the Immortals did get sniped earlier, but now with 3 Immortals, Roach pushes aren't really going to work out. We have Archons to defend against those Lings, and now those Oracles, they are finally being put to use. They are finally killing some drones here.
Yeah, one of them almost falls down, but it does survive and takes 6 drones with them. As Hunta is once again trying to attack on this third.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, he just hasn't really been able to transition too well. His worker count is still in shambles, and Roach Ravager is okay, but it does kind of have a bit of a timer. I still think it's decent against the army that Trigger has, because Trigger still hasn't invested into Storm or Disruptors or anything like that. So Hunter is still okay, but he has to start thinking ahead unless he wants to end the game here and now.
Yeah, also the Oracles are tailing the army, so Trigger is actually well aware of when Hunta is going to attack, and he's going to try now.
Oh yeah, here we go. Hunta for the third push is coming in. Files are connecting with the army. A little bit of mismicro there from Trigger, and he's going to try and get on top of these Immortals, but here we go. Overcharge is being popped to help keep everything alive.
Yeah, the Immortals barely survive, but they are still there and dishing a lot of damage to these Roaches, with the Starcast cleaning it up.
GG, it's one of those things where the Immortals barely survive, but they survive, and they dish out so much DPS. Trigger, he holds against the Roach Ravager all in.
I mean, they're called Immortals for a reason.
Yeah, they didn't die. Oh my god. But that first push was honestly looking pretty good for Hunta, not gonna lie. Like, when he came in and when there were very minimal units, charge was very late for Trigger as well. It took him a long time for his Zealots to really be too useful, so that was keeping Hunta in the game. But yeah, I'm surprised by how well Trigger was able to defend against the first wave of Zerg.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty nice defense from Trigger, and it snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Still though, the slow Zealots versus Roaches, they looked a little sad.
There was there was a time where Trigger had 81 probes to like the 56 of Hunta. It was insane. It was absolutely insane how much of an economic advantage Trigger had, and how, I almost want to say greedy, but it wasn't even greedy. It was just, again, just some solid macro out of Trigger.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like a well-timed, like probing, I guess. Like you have the balance between making workers and making units, and like he didn't like go too far into either direction. He just like balanced it right in the middle.
Yeah. ¿Por qué no los dos?
as we look at the base of the winner of the previous game, who is representing Canada and the team Super. It is Trigger.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the American Zerg player representing Root Gaming. It is Hunta.
Okay, so Light, I have a challenge for you.
Go for it.
What do you do about Team Super?
There are some teams that just, like Root Gaming and Super they aren't set up for the kind of hype.
I mean, you still have Root G, I guess. Question mark.
Look, your team has to be set up if you want the varsity like hype up, okay?
What about CranKy Ducklings?
Team CD?
I thought so.
Nah, CranKy Ducklings isn't set up for it either. I mean, you can force it, but nah. We need the initial setup. Like LTK, even as their logo, are those 3 letters LTK. Like, it works. It works.
Yeah, we don't have like an acronym, I guess, really.
Yeah.
But CD doesn't really sound like,
Yeah. Like
it's not a good one.
Our shortened version is CranKy, right? CranKy Ducklings are CranKy, so yeah. Different. It's different. It's not bad. It's just different. It's just different.
CranKy Ducklings Gaming.
Awful. We're not doing that. Oh god. We specifically avoided that.
CranKy Ducklings Esports.
Oh god. Meanwhile, Trigger once again being very annoying, very triggering with his first probe. Almost got a worker kill there. Almost.
Triggering. And I'm the one telling bad jokes, huh?
Oh god. But yeah, outside of that, nothing too crazy so far. Pretty standard openers from both sides, and once again, Trigger is going for Let's Stargate.
Yeah, I mean, it worked decently well for him last time. Why not do it again?
My question is, how many?
Trigger just pops out of nowhere in the chat. It's like, haha, very funny.
Shout out to Trigger. He's enjoying our jokes. Much love. Less than 3. Oh god, but yes, no spoilers in the chat, by the way. No spoilers in the chat. As Trigger is there. Hello, Trigger. Hello. Hope you've been having a good day as we are here closing out Group A, and we already have confirmation that Trigger is gonna get out of his group, but how is he gonna get out is the question.
I mean, he's looking pretty good so far.
So
I will tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion earlier today that Trigger is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Should consider going pro.
Yeah, have you thought about competing in like tournaments?
Think about it, mate. Think about it.
Yeah, I think it could be pretty good.
As we do have an Oracle opening once again, not just one, but a second Oracle behind this. So it does seem as if Trigger is looking to go for the same kind of build in general that he did go for in game number 1.
And the same can be said for Hunta, actually, as he is getting that Roach Warren.
Roach Warren is on the way. Oracle does reveal itself, but so far unable to get too much damage. The Queens were in position, and Spores are now on the way for Hunta.
Yeah, the Queens are gonna join the third base as well, so this Oracle has to be careful not to get accidentally sniped, but it moves away just in time.
Yeah. Oracle does turn around, does come back home, and behind this, once again, Trigger does go for the Twilight Council. This time, Hunter is switching things up a little bit. He does go for an Overlord Scout because there is nothing to deny him, so, he was able to get eyes on things earlier on, and even confirms that this time there is no third Oracle.
Yes, indeed. He does not see the Twilight Council, though, so he doesn't quite know that there is a switch to ground, but he does see that the Stargate isn't producing anything, so I guess he can assume.
Yeah, exactly. He knows there are no Void Rays. We're not going to be seeing Sky Toss out of Trigger. Again, it's one of those things where Ground Toss has kind of risen in popularity a little bit, especially in the new patch, but Trigger, he doesn't give a damn about the Spores. He dives in anyway and gets 3 more drone kills.
Yeah, nicely done. The oracles both survive as well, even though one is very damaged. And it is flying through a few queens, but it's still surviving.
Oh boy. Oracles do manage to escape though, barely with their lives, and Trigger is going for that Blink Stalker timing. Forge is on the way for those upgrades as well. But I'm not too... again, I do kind of like that Hunter is still going for his Roach Ravager. I do think it did work well for him in the previous game. Just hopefully this time he focuses a little bit more on his economy and actually saturates his fourth base.
Wow. Trigger is still getting drones with those oracles, by the way. As well as Hunta tried to snipe a few probes as they were transferring to the third base, but he was chased away by the Stalkers.
Yeah, he did end up getting force fielded in the end, so the Lings didn't really pay for themselves. Trigger actually moving out across the map here. This is going to be a very awkward timing for Hunter, especially after losing all of his Lings. He has very limited map vision, so he doesn't really see this coming, and yeah, Trigger, he may be able to deal some damage. Pushing like deep into creep is a little bit questionable, but I mean, he's going for it anyway.
I mean, Stalkers also killed a few Overlords on the way, so that means less supply for Hunta to make units, and now these queens are in danger.
Yeah, Hunta a little bit supply block there, but we do have a couple of Lings on production. The force field on the ramp, though, sorry, the force field at the natural base is going to block out all of those roaches.
Yeah, now they are free to join the rest of the pack, but, you know, Trigger is still here.
Yeah, and Blink is done as well. Trigger trading so well with this army. The Stasis Trap is now triggered here on those Lings. And even though Hunter will defend, like, Trigger traded pretty damn well. Oh my god. The Queen's even zoned out.
Yeah, the Queens are actually blocked by the Stasis Lings. They are just too fast. Oh no. But yeah. The Stalkers, like, even though, like, you know, this is like not like huge game ending or like economical damage, like at the very least, like this stops the attack from Hunta for a while now.
Yeah, exactly. It forces him to make units, less drones as well. We were talking about it in game 1. Same can be said in game 2. Trigger has a pretty hefty lead in that probe count, the 74 compared to the 61 of Hunter. And looking at the units lost, again, Trigger traded incredibly well. What did he really lose there? He lost his sentries, 3 stalkers, but he was able to kill 21 Lings and 7 roaches. Like, that was a beautiful trade for him.
Yeah, very nice. And now he still has all those Stalkers, he has a few Archons, and the Oracles are still chilling at the base as well.
Exactly. The army is moving out once again, but this time with those Archons and those Immortals. Hunter does spot this coming with a bit of a Scatterling, a Spotterling, so he's well aware of it. Banelings are being morphed in as a response. Is it going to be enough to hold, though? At the same time, Oracle's trying to dip it. Oh, it was a bit of a... it was a bit of a pause there.
The Oracles are distracting the Queens as the main army is walking towards the 4th base. There is the Roach Ravager, the mostly Ravager actually, army prepared there. But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Hunter, it looks like he's getting ready for a massive surround with his Banelings. The first army does engage. The reinforcements come in, and he looks like he's going to be able to catch an Archon. Nice pickup there. And the Banelings are rolling on in, but they're not really getting the connections they want on those Zealots. Decent connections, but still Zealots get into the mineral line.
Yeah, a lot of those Banelings are actually wasted on the Immortal, but it looks like it may be just barely enough to clean up this Protoss army, or maybe not.
Oh my god, the reinforcing Zealots. I thought there were going to be biles on that War Prism. I thought the Prism was going to go down, but GG gets gold!
Clean to all.
Wow, Trigger does it in the end. I thought maybe Hunter would be able to hold on, especially with that surround. I was very impressed with Hunter's army movement there, but we saw another warp in, you know, the push just didn't stop. And
yeah, I feel like, I mean, it also didn't help that, like, a lot of the Banelings ran into straight into the Immortals, so they actually didn't take out, like, all of this Gateway army. So yeah. I mean, hey, Trigger is first in the group for a reason.
Yeah, he is. GG. Well played to Trigger, and congratulations as well, Trigger. He's there. He's in the chat. Trigger_ZC. So give him some love. Like, it was great for him to perform well in this group, and the Madman didn't even drop a map.
Yeah. By the way, he also streams. in
He
case you want
does.
to check that out.
He does also stream. He doesn't stream with Mike, and usually he has an anime weeb playlist going on in the background. But some quality StarCraft. Some quality StarCraft.
It makes him win games, okay? That's what counts.
Does he win because of the playlist or in spite of the playlist? We don't know. We don't know.
Are you saying that if he like turned off the music, he would actually like get another level?
Look, I'm not saying that. I'm just, I'm just saying.
You're not saying it, but you're saying it.
Yes, but there we go. We do see the scores on the screen right now. That does finish up all of our matches in Group A. And I believe, of course, Trigger does come out first. And coming out second is a good question. Kozan. Yeah, Kozan. Right?
Is actually Kozan advancing?
No, sorry, my mistake. I thought he beat PiLiPiLi. My mistake.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. PiLiPiLi is gonna be able to come out second, right?
Yeah, it was a 2-1 for PiLiPiLi, so it looks like PiLiPiLi will be the one advancing.
Yeah, As a
Confirm
random,
Sugar.
Yes, we did have the decider match earlier, and Kozan versus PiLiPiLi was close until the DT showed up.
Yes.
Feels
exactly.
bad.
Until the DT showed up.
Mm-hmm. It was close until it wasn't. Yeah. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Kozan came so close, but in the end, out of this group are going to be our two Protoss players, Trigger and PiLiPiLi. Protoss just looking a little bit too good here in this group. But when it comes to the other races, like they still have plenty of opportunities to have their representatives in the playoffs.
I mean, let's be honest. Trigger and PiLiPiLi are pretty strong players, like regardless of the race. Like in the whole tournament, there's some of the upper ranks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the most surprising result, but like it's nice to see like Kozan putting up a fight. For example,
exactly.
Hunta also playing some decent games.
Exactly. Hunta, he didn't look bad. He didn't look bad in tonight's game, so I hope he doesn't feel too discouraged. We did find out, of course, he does have a job of his own, so maybe that is why he had to forfeit as well. Maybe he was getting called in to come to work at the last minute or something like that. So yeah, a bit of a feels bad, man, but hopefully we're able to see Hunta and Kozan in future seasons of NA Apprentice. That's the important thing to take note of, is that in a year we get like 5+ seasons of NA Apprentice.
I think it's actually 5 seasons. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 5 seasons. I think last year it was 5 seasons.
That's a lot of seasons.
That is a lot of seasons.
Yeah. Pick it up, GSL. What's going on? Oh my god.
As a reminder, these tournaments are open both to North American as well as Latin American players. So make sure to look forward to the next qualifiers, which are probably gonna be in a few weeks. So pretty soon.
Yeah. Once this season of NA Apprentice wraps up, the qualifiers are not too far behind. Speaking of some Latin American players, we will have them later on in the group stage. !B if you want to have a look at the Wikipedia page yourself. We can see that Group B was yesterday, and Trigger and PiLiPiLi aren't the only Protoss players to advance. Disc also comes out on the top of his group. Again, very strong Protosses in North America, but at least we also have a Terran advancing as well.
Yeah, indeed, Vindicta made it on the 2nd place in Group B. And there's still more there's still more Terrans and Zergs in the other groups. I mean, there's one Zerg in Antis, but they still have a chance.
Yeah, it's like there's one Zerg in Antis, but Antis, I think we can all comfortably say, and I think Sugar's gonna back us up on this one, Antis is the best Zerg player in all of America, period. Long gone are the days of Silky. I think Silky did come back like the previous season. He was actually supposed to come back this season, but he declined his spot, so he gave it up. So yeah, long gone are the days of Silky. Now is the era of Antis.
Yeah, I think it's very likely that he's gonna win, but that said, his group does not look very easy.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of strong players there. Tavo, aka Tapo, in the chat. He's gonna be playing Group D as well in just 2 days. So again, give all these players as much support as possible. They're going to need it to get out of their round robin groups, and into the playoffs.
Yes, indeed. And they will be not covered on this channel, but they will be covered on other channels. Group C will be streamed on Biomov's channel, and Group D will be streamed on Chickenman's channel. As in this tournament, Sugar spreads the coverage to different channels, so different communities can experience a bit of this tournament.
Yeah, there's always different casters getting involved, whether it's ourselves or Biomov or Chicken Man or even Renegade X Studios, Stars Falling Dim. I think even Dave Testa's been involved at some point. Maybe even Sheer Shady. Like, again, Sugar, he spreads the love, allows like all this different coverage, all these different community casters come together to bring you North American and Latin American StarCraft.
Yes, indeed. So make sure to check out those channels as well. Cheer for Tapo.
Tapo.
Put some tapos in the chat. What is it?
He's a player.
What's a duck? What's a duck that's not a duck? Is it a goose? Or...
The tapo.
The tapo. It's a creature that we don't know what it looks like. It's a tapo.
Exactly. Oh god. But yes. Again, thank you everyone so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much, Kuro, as well, for joining me today for the second half of the broadcast. I appreciate it. My voice appreciates it. Thank you.
My voice appreciates that I only had like one half of the broadcast, but it's fine.
Beautiful.
It was nice to be here to jump in, at least for the 2 series, and see some of those players. And those were pretty solid games, so I'm happy with that.
Definitely. If you want to help support this tournament, ! Matcherino in the chat, as there is a Matcherino page for this tournament, and I believe there are some codes remaining. Yes, there are 21 codes in total, so make sure you click that claim coupon button and support North American StarCraft. Meanwhile, also massive shout out to Some Drunk Canadian. I don't know if you've noticed it, but throughout the broadcast we have seen the logo, that maple leaf, the maple flag of Some Drunk Canadian. There it is, just below me. He is a main sponsor of this tournament. Without people like Some Drunk Canadian, then tournaments like this, they again wouldn't be getting as much support as they otherwise would.
I want to point out that on the list of sponsors on Wikipedia, there's also Free Dragon and OSC, so there's also something to keep in mind. But yeah, like Some Drunk Canadian in general has been somebody who's like supporting a lot of like this community initiatives to call it. So it's nice to see him around.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's great to see him sponsoring events, and he's also been trying his hand at casting as well. He's been doing a lot of casting and Alpha X related events as well. So massive shout out to SDC. He's a great guy. He's a great guy with a lot of passion. At the moment he's working on King of Battles. King of Battles is his next big event that he is sponsoring. So yeah, give him plenty of love on the social medias. And with that, Kuro, who are you? And where can people find more of you?
I'm the best casting Jersey because I'm the only one. And you can find me mostly on this channel, as I'm either casting or streaming or being in the chat. Or also on Discord, where I'm posting duck GIFs and videos, and sometimes doing useful stuff. But if you're interested more in just things I do, then make sure to follow me on Twitter at 16squads or on Twitch at 16squadsanseki, when I'm mostly doing Final Fantasy XIV. So if you're into chilling just around and exploring places, then feel free to come and join me on the journey as light is turning into a duck.
I'm trying to get the duck is being chroma keyed out. Like I can't show off. Okay, that's better. But yes, 16 Squad Sanseki for Kuro, 16 Squad S on Twitter as well. For all of that Kuro love that you can enjoy there. Meanwhile, light_VIP on Twitch and Twitter. You can follow me all over the place. I do stream throughout the week. I'm probably going to stream a ladder session later on today. We'll see what we end up doing. But yeah, you can follow me there for some solo content if you want. But if you want just casting, just StarCraft tournaments, then check us out here on the CranKy Ducklings. We have North American, Latin American, Korean, Southeast Asian, Oceanic, and even European StarCraft on this channel. Specifically Polish StarCraft. But, it's fine.
It is European.
True. So if you're interested in StarCraft period, then consider following us here on this channel. We have plenty of StarCraft available for you. If you cannot tune in live, then check us out on YouTube. All of our VODs are uploaded to YouTube on a daily basis, so you can check us out there if you want to tune into some StarCraft, but we're not live at your time zone, then yeah, check us out on YouTube. Plenty of StarCraft. Plenty of stuff.
And I do recommend checking out the broadcast. Like, even if they're not in your time zone, like, there are some interesting players in all the regions, and you know, they deserve some recognition as well.
Oh yeah, our casts, they don't disappoint. We have some, I think we get a little bit lucky with like the players that we follow and the games that we get.
Yeah, we just happen to like know all the crazy players. It's great.
Oh god, so you can check us out there if you want. Again, we're all over the interwebs, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. If you want to support us monetarily, we have a Patreon as well, which is set up to help support our tournaments and to help fund our pro team. So yeah, we're all over the place. Join us on Discord to interact with us. And with that, thank you so much everyone for watching. Kuro, do you have anything else you wanna say before we head off?
Bebe agua.
Oh god. Meanwhile, massive shout out to Sugar, who's in the chat as well. We didn't get to say it, but Sugar is the organizer and the man behind the scenes for all of North American StarCraft. Give him some love, give him some support. Especially because, you know, he's a Terran player and Terran aren't doing so well, so he needs you. He needs you. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. Our next broadcast is gonna be in just over 24 hours. Big clap to Sugar. Yes, big clap. Big claps for Sugar.
Is that a new one?
Oh god.
Oh, no.
Our next broadcast is going to be in just over 24 hours. It is going to be Master Swan Open. It is going to be covered by Steak Steel Mold. Yes.
24? It's more than 24.
I said more than 24 hours. That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It's like a day and a half.
It is. So be sure to be there for our next event. And until then, thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Ciao.